The Peaches survived the train from Madison better than Helen did. By the time the cab left her at the curb, the paper bag had one damp spot, and Helen's new knee had swollen against the seam of her slacks. She stood beneath the gray Chicago sky, one hand on her cane, looking up at the two flats she had owned for 31 years. Something was wrong with the front windows. The blue curtains were gone. Inside, the wrongness became an echo. Her key turned. Her shoes crossed the entry tile. Then there was nothing to absorb the sound. The sofa was gone. The rug was gone. George's chair was gone. Pale rectangles marked the walls where the bookcases had stood, and clean islands in the dust showed the old arrangement of the room. On the bare floor near the kitchen lay a curled strip of green masking tape with a price written on it, $40. Helen stared at it until the paper bag slipped against her hip. On the kitchen counter, beneath the cheap glass vase Marcus had apparently decided nobody would buy, someone had left a flyer. Complete household liquidation. Furniture, kitchenware, linens, tools. Owner, transitioning to supervised care. The sale had taken place 2 days ago. Helen read the last line twice. Then she looked around the empty room and wondered where exactly her son had planned for her to die. She set the peaches in the sink because there was nowhere else to put them. "Marcus," she said to the room. Her voice came back thinner than she expected. She called him. The phone rang 5 times before going to voicemail. "You've reached Marcus. Leave me something useful." George used to say the message sounded like a ransom demand. Helen had defended it because mothers developed foolish reflexes and kept them long after the evidence turned. She disconnected without speaking. The refrigerator was still there, though almost empty. 3 bottles of water, half a jar of mustard, and a plastic container labeled soup in Marcus's square handwriting. He had remembered the soup. That almost made it worse. Helen moved through the apartment with the slow, uneven step her physical therapist called a temporary gait, and Helen called walking like a pirate. Her dining room table was gone. The oak table had been too large for the room from the day they bought it, but George had said families expanded into the space available. They never had. Not in the way he meant. Still, every Thanksgiving plate had rested on it, every birthday cake, every tax return, before they finally surrendered to an accountant. A photograph of George remained on the wall. He was standing beside Lake Michigan in a windbreaker that made him look like a retired crossing guard. Marcus had removed the narrow table beneath the picture, but left his father smiling at empty air. "Don't start," Helen told him. Her bedroom smelled of floor polish. The bed was gone, along with both nightstands and the long maple dresser she had bought at Carson's when she was 23. Her clothes had been stuffed into black contractor bags and piled in the closet. One bag had split. A sleeve from her red winter coat hung out like a tongue. Helen lowered herself onto the windowsill. Her knee objected sharply. The surgeon had told her not to sit too low, not to twist, and not to attempt stairs without a railing. He had not mentioned what to do when your son sold every chair you owned. A shape moved past the bedroom door. Helen gripped her cane with both hands. "Helen?" Eileen Sutter appeared in the hall carrying a foil-covered casserole dish. She lived across the street and had the nervous, forward-leaning posture of a person perpetually arriving late to gossip. The two women stared at each other. Eileen's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "You're home." That's what the key suggested. I thought, Friday. Today is Friday. Next Friday. Yes, well. I healed recklessly. Eileen's eyes moved toward the black bags. Her face changed in increments. Oh, Helen. It was not the greeting Helen wanted. It was the greeting people used at funerals when they had disliked the deceased but respected the catering. Eileen set the casserole on the windowsill beside her. "I made tuna noodle," she said. "Of course you did. I can take it back." "No." The tuna didn't do anything. Eileen pressed her fingers together. "Marcus said you'd agreed. To tuna noodle, to the sale, to moving. He said you were going into a place near your sister." Helen looked at the dish. Cornflakes had been scattered over the top and browned with great determination. "What place?" "I don't know. A good one," he said. "They all say that before they lock the doors." Helen. "What? You're making jokes. I just rode 2.5 hours with a knee the size of a cantaloupe. I've earned one." Eileen sat beside her, leaving a careful distance between their hips. "There were a lot of people here Saturday, cars down the block. I came over because I thought there'd been a death. There nearly was." "Did you buy anything?" Eileen looked offended. Absolutely not. The answer came too quickly. Helen turned her head. Eileen's shoulders fell. 2 Pyrex bowls. The yellow ones? One yellow, one with little wheat things. Those were my good bowls. I'll wash them, you'd better. I'll bring them back. Helen closed her eyes. No. Keep them. You just said... I know what I said. Eileen fell quiet. She had known Helen for 16 years and was accustomed to weather passing through without warning. Did Marcus give you the flyer? Helen asked. No. A woman taped them to the lampposts, some estate sale company. Marcus was here the whole time, though. He carried things out. He looked... Eileen stopped. What? Busy. Marcus always looked busy when he wanted to avoid looking ashamed. Helen opened her eyes. Did Tara come? Not that I saw. That mattered, though Helen was not yet certain how. From the street came the hydraulic groan of a city bus. Somewhere downstairs, a pipe knocked inside the wall. The building had its own vocabulary, the pipes, the radiators, the soft complaint of floorboards over the front stairs. Helen and George had learned every sound. Marcus had grown up among them and apparently mistaken familiarity for ownership. Eileen touched the casserole lid. You can stay with me tonight. Your guest room is upstairs. We'll put you on the sofa. You have a sofa? Eileen grimaced. Sorry, Helen said. That one got away from me. She tried Marcus again. This time he answered on the second ring. Ma, where is my bed? Silence came across the line, followed by the muffled sound of a car door closing. You're not supposed to be home. Apparently neither is my furniture. I told you next Friday. Why didn't you call me? I'm calling you now. Where are you? Helen looked around the bedroom. You sold the chair I'd sit in to answer that. Ma, don't move around. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I've been moving around for 72 years. I mean it. Your knee. She ended the call. Eileen inhaled through her nose. He sounded concerned. He has always had excellent concern. Very little permission, but excellent concern. After Eileen left, promising to return with the bowls and sheets and possibly an entire bed if she could locate one, Helen dragged the contractor bags away from the closet wall. Her overnight suitcase was missing. She laughed once. The sound frightened her. The suitcase had been a graduation gift from George before they were married, mustard-colored and heavy enough to qualify as punishment. She had not used it in 20 years. Marcus had sold luggage belonging to a woman he said was moving away. Her handbag still held the downstairs keys. The lower apartment had been rented to Rosabelle for almost 8 years. Rosa paid on the first of the month, tolerated the unreliable water pressure, and reported repairs in texts so precise they could have been entered into evidence. 3 weeks before Helen's surgery, Rosa had called to say she and Celeste had found a place together. Her lease ended this month, but she planned to move early. Helen had not told Marcus because Marcus had spent the week before surgery, instructing her on ice packs, shower seats, and the many ways she could fall down. Helen left the peaches upstairs and made her way to the rear landing. The back staircase to the lower apartment had 6 steps, and a railing George had installed after one of their tenants threatened to sue in 1999. It wobbled slightly. Still useless, Helen muttered, touching it. She took each step sideways, leading with the stronger leg as the therapist had taught her. Down with the bad, up with the good. She had found the phrase insulting. Her right leg had carried her through 2 pregnancies, 32 years behind an alterations counter, George's funeral, and every winter stairway in Chicago. It had earned a little patience. At the lower door, the key stuck. She leaned her shoulder into it. The apartment opened with a sigh of dry air. Rosa was gone. The rooms were not beautiful. The front windows stood nearly level with pedestrians' waists. The kitchen had brown cabinets Helen had meant to replace since the first Obama administration, but the floors were clean. The refrigerator hummed. In the front room, Rosa had left a yellow ceramic lamp on the floor with an extension cord coiled beside it. A note was taped to the shade. Helen, Celeste says the lamp is ugly. You always said it was ugly. Therefore it belongs to you. Thank you for being a decent landlord. Keys are on the kitchen counter. Rosa Helen plugged in the lamp. Its shade gave the empty room the color of weak lemonade. There was a knock upstairs, hard enough to travel through the ceiling. Ma? Marcus's footsteps crossed the apartment above her. Ma! He sounded afraid. Good, Helen thought, and then disliked herself for enjoying it. He found her in the downstairs kitchen opening cupboards. Marcus was 45, but entered every room as if he had just been blamed for breaking a window. His jacket hung open. His graying brown hair had been flattened on one side by a baseball cap he was now twisting in his hands. "What are you doing down here?" "Checking whether you sold the cabinets." "Why did you come home alone?" "Because Amtrak refused to send a chaperone." "Your doctor said—" "My doctor said I could travel if I got up every 40 minutes. 3 conductors can confirm that I wandered the aisles like a ghost." Marcus looked at her knee, then at the empty apartment. "You should have called me, so you could sell the train before I arrived?" His jaw tightened. "Can we not do this like that?" "How would you like to do it?" "Upstairs. There's nowhere to sit." He looked away. That tiny movement hurt more than any excuse could have. He knew. He had stood in her emptied rooms and known she would return to nothing. "I was going to set everything up," he said. "You weren't supposed to see it halfway done." "Set what up?" "A better situation." For whom? For everybody. Marcus put the cap on the counter, then moved it, apparently deciding the counter was dirty. His hands never stopped solving small problems while larger ones waited. The rugs were dangerous, he said. The bed was too high. "That table took up half the dining room, and you don't use it. You said yourself this place was getting to be too much." "I said the property taxes were too much." Same conversation. "No, Marcus. One is a complaint. The other is an eviction. Nobody is evicting you." "Then where is my bed?" He rubbed both palms over his face. For a moment she saw George in the gesture and hated the resemblance. "Tara and I are giving up our rental," he said. "We can't keep paying $2,600 a month while carrying the business debt. The upstairs solves that. It keeps the building in the family, and I'd be right here if you needed anything." "Right where?" "Upstairs. And where would I be?" "With Aunt Lois until we found somewhere you liked." Helen waited. Marcus shifted his weight. "Or there's a place near her. She sent me the website. It's not a nursing home, Ma. It's apartments. They have meals and transportation." "Have you paid them?" "No." "Have I spoken to them?" "No, but have I ever agreed to leave my home?" "We talked about it." "You talked. I was trapped in a recliner with an ice machine strapped to my leg. You said the building would be mine when I'm dead." His face reddened. "That isn't what I meant." "It is exactly what you meant. You just hoped saying safer would make it sound loving." Marcus picked up his cap again. "I spent 3 weeks cleaning that apartment. I refinished the front floor. I hauled out things you haven't touched since Dad died. You sold things I touched every day. You don't need a dining table for 8. I needed a bed for 1. Neither spoke. Above them, the old pipe knocked twice. Helen opened the cabinet beneath the sink. Rosa had left a roll of paper towels and a bottle of dish soap. Ordinary things, useful things. Things no one would place a green price sticker on. "How much?" Helen asked. "What?" "How much did you get for my furniture?" "The company takes a percentage." "That wasn't my question." "About $6,700. "Where is it?" Marcus stared at the yellow lamp. "Some went to the floors," he said. "Some went to hauling. I had bills." Helen nodded slowly. He stepped toward her. "I was going to pay it back." "With the rent, you weren't going to pay me?" His mouth closed. Helen took the downstairs keys from her handbag and placed them on the counter between them. Marcus looked at the keys, then at her. "Rosa's lease runs through the end of the month," he said. Rosa moved out Tuesday. He went very still. Helen switched on the ugly yellow lamp. Warm light reached from the front room into the kitchen, touching the brown cabinets, the worn counter, and her son's stunned face. "You sold my furniture," she said. "You did not sell my home." Marcus recovered first. "The downstairs isn't ready for you. It has walls and a toilet. That puts it ahead of upstairs. You can't live down here. The bathroom has that tub. The same tub Rosa used for 8 years. Rosa didn't just have knee surgery. Rosa also didn't sell my shower chair." He flinched. "That was plastic. It was useful plastic. I can buy another one." "With what?" Marcus put his cap back on and pulled the brim low. Helen had seen him do that at 14, after he backed George's Buick into the garage door. He had been less sorry about the door than furious at the existence of reverse. "You're trying to make this as bad as possible," he said. "I arrived to find out you sold my bed and told the neighborhood I was entering supervised care. It arrived bad. That flyer was the company's wording. You told them enough to write it. I told them we were clearing the apartment for a family transition." "A family transition? That sounds nicer." He paced to the doorway and back. The kitchen was too narrow for the gesture, forcing him to turn after 3 steps. "What do you want me to say?" "The truth would be festive." You want me to say I screwed up? Fine, I screwed up. I moved too fast. Moving too fast is missing an exit. You held a sale. I thought once it was done, you'd see it made sense. Helen stared at him. Marcus seemed to hear himself a moment too late. His face changed, but he did not take the words back. There it was, not confusion, not a conversation remembered differently. He had known she would refuse, so he had made refusal inconvenient. Helen reached for her handbag and found the ring holding the upstairs front and back keys. Give me yours. What? Your keys to my apartment. Ma, come on, keys. I need to get in. My tools are up there. You can collect them now. I'm not giving you the keys when you can barely manage the steps. You will if you want me to keep asking nicely. He folded his arms. What are you going to do? Lock me out? Yes. You gave me those keys for emergencies. This is an emergency. You needing cheaper rent is not the kind the fire department recognizes. His eyes hardened. You know it's more than rent. She did know. She knew about the remodeling company that had begun with Marcus and a friend taking kitchen jobs on weekends. She knew the friend had left, the jobs had slowed, and Marcus had kept the rented storage unit and printed company shirts long after there was enough work to justify either. She knew Tara had paid their household bills from her hospital scheduling job without ever saying the word failure in front of him. Helen had known all of that and still had not imagined him walking strangers through her bedroom. What happened to the $6,700? She asked. I told you. You named categories. I'm asking for numbers. I don't have them in my head. You always have numbers in your head. Not standing in a basement kitchen getting interrogated. First floor apartment. Half the windows are below grade. Then don't move in. Marcus gripped the edge of the counter. The card was past due. I paid $2,800 on it. I paid the flooring guy $12. The sale company took their part. Dump fees were $400. And the rest? Supplies, gas, I don't know. You spent it. I invested some of it in getting the upstairs ready. For yourself. For us. There is no us in a lease I never offered. His phone buzzed. He checked the screen and rejected the call. Tara? Helen asked. It doesn't matter. It might to Tara. Don't bring her into this. You appear to have already packed her. Marcus shoved the phone into his pocket. She doesn't need you calling her and making this sound like I threw you into the street. Helen looked around the empty apartment. I'm sure she'll appreciate the nuance. He took 2 steps toward her, not threateningly. Marcus had never raised a hand to her, and Helen did not believe he would. But he had inherited George's size and none of George's instinct for how much space that size occupied. In the little kitchen, his urgency became pressure. You are not ready to live alone, he said. You were on a walker a week ago. Aunt Lois told me you nearly fell getting out of the shower. I slipped. She had to help you. She handed me a towel. That isn't what she said. Heat rose into Helen's face. Lois had promised not to report every wobble to Marcus. At 68, her younger sister remained incapable of holding information if someone asked with enough concern. You two have been discussing me, Helen said. We've been worried. Worry is not a power of attorney. I didn't say it was. You behaved as if it was. His phone buzzed again. This time it continued, an insect trapped in his pocket. Helen held out her hand. Keys. Marcus stared at it. You know what? He said. No, not while you're like this. Like what? Angry. A laugh escaped her, sharp enough to hurt her ribs. You'll return them when I'm pleased about the sale? When you've calmed down. He grabbed his cap from his own head, as if it had offended him, then pushed past the doorway. Get your tools, Helen called after him. His footsteps struck the rear stairs too hard. You leave anything up there, it stays until I arrange a time. Fine. And Marcus? He stopped above her, but did not turn. I'm calling Tara, he continued up. Helen waited until the back door slammed before lowering herself into a crouch beside the kitchen cabinet. Pain streaked along her thigh. She held the counter and breathed through it. Down with the bad, up with the good. Apparently no one had devised a phrase for discovering your son had appointed himself your future. She found a saucepan under the counter, left behind by Rosa, and a chipped mug with the name of a medical supply company printed on it. The downstairs refrigerator held nothing except a box of baking soda. Helen carried the tuna casserole down one stair at a time, hugging it against her stomach, while the foil warmed beneath her palms. Halfway down, she heard Marcus moving above her. A drill case scraped. Something heavy struck the wall. Careful, she called automatically. The scraping stopped. Helen closed her eyes. Even now, even furious, she was protecting the paint. Marcus came down with 2 toolboxes and a rolled canvas drop cloth. He had added a cordless saw to the top, balancing it badly. "There are more supplies in the front closet," he said. "Take them. I can't carry everything. Make 2 trips. I have to meet someone at 4. Helen did not ask who. A customer, a creditor, Tara. Marcus often converted personal chaos into appointments. He went upstairs again. On his second trip, he carried paint trays, a folded ladder, and a grocery bag. He set the grocery bag on the downstairs counter. "What's that?" "Your medication." It was in the bathroom cabinet. "You packed my pills in a grocery bag?" "I didn't pack them. I moved them so they wouldn't get lost during the sale." "Consider it. I also brought soup." "I saw." "You need to eat with the anti-inflammatory." "I can read a label." His mouth tightened. "I'm trying here." "No." "You are trying now?" "You already did the other thing." For a moment, neither moved. Marcus removed a key ring from his pocket. Helen recognized the brass tag George had stamped with upstairs after locking himself out one snowy night. Marcus slid one key free and placed it beside Rose's keys. "This is the back door," he said. "The front." "I don't have the front." "You have had both since your father got sick." "I don't know where the other one is. Find it." He lifted the toolboxes. "I'll call you tonight. I may not answer." "You always answer." The words came out with such simple certainty that Helen had no response ready. Marcus left. She stood in the yellow light, listening to his truck start behind the building. The engine idled for almost a minute before pulling away. When Helen called Tara, the call went to voicemail. She did not leave a message. Not because Marcus had asked her not to, she told herself. She simply did not know which sentence could contain the situation without sounding insane. "Hello, your husband liquidated my bedroom." Instead, she called Rosa. "Did you change your mind about the lamp?" Rosa asked immediately. "Celeste was right. It's ugly. I knew you'd love it. I'm downstairs." There was a pause. "Downstairs where?" "In the apartment." "Today?" "I thought you were in Wisconsin until next week." So did Marcus. Rosa heard something in her voice. Her own became quieter. "What happened?" Helen looked toward the ceiling. "How far away are you?" 20 minutes. I'm not asking you to come." "Good. I don't respond well to demands." "Rosa?" "Do you have a bed?" Helen glanced into the empty front room. "I have a casserole." That was not my question. "Eileen is bringing something. Eileen considers furniture a gateway to hoarding. She owns a cot." "From the Civil War?" "It has springs." "That is not reassuring." "I have an air mattress. Celeste has a folding frame in her storage locker. We'll bring both." Helen pressed her fingers against her forehead. "I'm not helpless. I didn't say you were. I said I own an air mattress." By 5, the downstairs apartment had acquired the restless energy of an emergency waiting room. Eileen returned carrying the 2 Pyrex bowls, a stack of sheets, and a folding lawn chair with green plastic webbing. Rosa arrived with the air mattress. Celeste followed in a separate car because the folding frame did not fit in Rosa's hatchback. Celeste was tall, silver-haired, and so soft-spoken that people often mistook her quiet for agreement. She surveyed the apartment, found an outlet, and began assembling the frame without comment. Eileen stood in the kitchen, gripping the yellow bowl. "I still feel like I stole these." "You paid for them," Helen said. $6. "You overpaid. I also bought your hand mixer." Helen looked at her. Eileen winced. $8. Bring it tomorrow." While the air pump whined in the front room, Rosa heated the casserole. Helen sat in the lawn chair with her leg propped on a cardboard box, irritated by how much relief sitting brought. Nobody asked her whether she wanted to go back to Lois's. Nobody said assisted living. Celeste had discovered the folding frame was missing a bolt and solved the problem with one from the yellow lamp's base, leaving the lamp tilted but functional. At 6:15, someone knocked on the front door. Helen expected Marcus. She braced herself before Rosa opened it. Tara stood outside in Navy hospital scrubs and a camel coat, holding a new shower chair in one hand and a set of sheets in the other. Her dark hair was pulled into a loose knot, and exhaustion had hollowed the skin beneath her eyes. Behind her, at the curb, the trunk of her car remained open. "I've been calling Marcus," she said. "So have several people, apparently," Helen replied. Tara looked past her at the mattress, the casserole, and the 3 women pretending not to listen. He said, "You changed your mind." "About what?" "The upstairs apartment." Helen kept her face still. Tara, when did he tell you I had agreed? Tara's grip tightened around the shower chair. In May, she said. Helen's surgery had been in June. Tara looked toward the ceiling, understanding arriving not as surprise, but as the collapse of something she had been forcing herself to believe. He said you wanted us here, she whispered. Then she turned back to Helen. He said the sale was your idea. Helen stepped aside. Come in before Eileen reports you to the neighborhood. I don't report, Eileen said from the kitchen. I observe locally. Tara entered, carrying the shower chair as if it were a piece of evidence. Rosa took the sheets from her. Celeste continued tightening the improvised bolt on the bed frame, but the room had gone quiet except for the inflatable mattress settling with small rubber sighs. Tara looked at each woman. I'm sorry. I didn't know this was a meeting. It isn't, Helen said. It's apparently a rescue operation. Temporary furnishing, Rosa corrected. Without permission, Helen said. Then we learned from Marcus. Tara's mouth twitched despite herself. It vanished quickly. She set the shower chair beside the bathroom door. He told me in May that you wanted to move closer to Lois. He said you were tired of dealing with the building. I am tired of dealing with the building. He said the stairs were getting difficult. They are. He said the upstairs was going to us. Helen studied her daughter-in-law's face. Tara was 43, 12 years into a marriage that had begun with an argument over whether their wedding needed assigned seating. She did not lie well. She became unnaturally specific and touched the left side of her neck. Now, both hands hung at her sides. What did you say? Helen asked. I asked if you were sure. Not me? No, I asked Marcus. And he said that you'd been talking about it for months, that you were relieved. Rosa carried the casserole into the front room. We should go. No, Helen said. You should eat. Eileen's tuna has already suffered enough. Helen, Tara murmured. I am not whispering in my own apartment. The phrase changed the room. It gave shape to the bare walls and the lamp leaning slightly toward the floor. Tara glanced around again, seeing not a holding area, but a place Helen had named. Celeste folded the plastic wrapper from the shower chair into a neat square. The frame will hold tonight. Don't sit on the very end. That advice applies to most things at my age, Helen said. Celeste smiled and touched Rosa's elbow. They left with Eileen, who carried the casserole dish and returned twice, once for her purse, and once because she had forgotten she was supposed to leave the casserole dish. When the door closed, Tara remained near the bathroom. You told him the building would be his, she said. Helen's shoulders stiffened. After I die, I know that's what you mean now. That is what inheritance means. It isn't always how you made it sound. The words landed cleanly. Tara had never enjoyed conflict, but once cornered, she could become exact. Helen lowered her foot from the cardboard box. How did I make it sound? At Christmas, when the boiler went, you said Marcus might as well pay attention because he'd be responsible for the place soon enough. When the city changed the trash rules, you told him it would all be his headache. When he replaced the back steps, you said at least he was improving his own property. Those were jokes, not to a man drowning in debt. So he gets to sell my bedroom? No. Tara's answer came hard enough to stop Helen. No, he does not. But I'm not going to stand here and pretend this appeared in his head out of nowhere. Helen shifted in the lawn chair. The green plastic webbing pressed through her slacks. I did not give him permission. I believe you. The relief that should have come did not. Tara sounded tired rather than loyal. Did you help with the sale? Helen asked. No. Did you know it was happening? I knew people were coming Saturday. Marcus said an estate company was taking the pieces you didn't want. Tara rubbed the side of her neck at last. I asked why it had to happen before you got back. He said you didn't want to watch. Helen looked toward the ceiling. That part may be true. I told him to wait, but you didn't call me. No. Why? Tara took a slow breath. Because I wanted the apartment. The honesty was almost a kindness. Tara sat on the floor opposite Helen, crossing her legs in the way Helen's knee might never permit again. Our lease is up at the end of next month. We gave notice. I've been covering rent, the car, insurance, most groceries. Marcus keeps saying the business will turn around after one more job, one more set of tools, one more ad campaign. When he said we could live upstairs for 2 years and pay the taxes instead of rent, I wanted to believe him. Pay the taxes? That was the arrangement he described. There was no arrangement. I understand that. He also said you'd help me, Helen said, That he'd be right upstairs. Tara looked at her. I work 10-hour shifts. Scheduling. At a hospital, not from a hammock. I would help when I could. I didn't ask for help. You ask Marcus constantly. Helen opened her mouth. The gutter, Tara continued, the pharmacy. The strange noise in the furnace. The boxes George left in the storage room. You call him because he lives close. Then you tell him you don't need anybody. That is what families do. Sometimes. But sometimes families make one person responsible and then act shocked when he begins thinking responsibility gives him rights. The apartment seemed smaller, with both women's anger inside it. Helen rose too quickly. Pain caught beneath her kneecap, and she gripped the lawn chair. Tara moved. Don't. I'm not trying to insult you. Then sit down. Tara sat. Helen waited for the pain to release. The indignity of her body choosing that moment made her want to strike something. Instead, she limped to the kitchen and poured water from the tap into the chipped mug. Behind her, Tara said, "He was wrong." Helen swallowed her medication. "Completely wrong," Tara added. "Selling your things, taking the money, making the decision, all of it. But I don't know what happens to us now." There it was. Not an apology offered freely, but one carrying boxes behind it. "You'll find another apartment," Helen said. "We can't afford another apartment. You can't afford mine either. We would pay something." "With what? The money Marcus already took from me?" Tara stood. "I am not asking you tonight. You came with sheets. I came because Marcus called and said you were trying to sleep in an empty basement. First floor. He was worried. He was managing the report." Tara picked up her coat from the new shower chair. "Maybe. He is still my husband. I know. You don't sound like you do. And I am still his mother. He seems confused about that." Tara closed her eyes. "I need to go. To Marcus. To drive around until I can speak without throwing something." Helen nearly told her George used to recommend Lower Wacker Drive for that purpose. The words rose, carrying an old family joke, then stopped. George belonged to Tara's history, too. Helen did not feel generous enough to share him. At the door, Tara paused. "The sheets are cotton. Wash them first or they'll feel like paper." "Thank you. I used your hand mixer once. Thanksgiving, maybe 6 years ago. Eileen has it." That startled a laugh out of her. Tara covered it with her hand. Then she left. Helen locked the front door and tested it twice. The apartment settled around her. Upstairs, the emptiness sounded larger than furniture ever had. Pipes ticked behind the wall. A truck passed close enough to send white light across the low ceiling. She ate Eileen's casserole from one of Rose's abandoned saucepans because there were no plates downstairs. The tuna had too much pepper and not enough salt. George would have added hot sauce. Marcus would have picked off the cornflakes and eaten them first. Helen hated that she knew this. She washed the saucepan, set the yellow lamp on a milk crate Celeste had brought from her car, and changed into a nightgown pulled from the contractor bags. The bags smelled faintly of sawdust and the rubber lining of Marcus's truck. The air mattress was higher than she expected. It shifted beneath her as she climbed on, forcing her to clutch the folding frame. Her knee throbbed in time with her pulse. She switched off the lamp. Darkness erased the apartment's defects. It also erased its doors. Helen lay listening for Marcus's key. At 11:40, her phone lit the ceiling. "Marcus? Did Tara come over?" Helen did not answer. "Marcus, she won't pick up." A minute later, "Marcus, please tell me she's safe." Helen stared at the message. Concern again. Excellent concern. "She left here at 6:45, Helen typed. The reply arrived immediately. "Marcus, what did you tell her?" Helen set the phone face down. Sleep came in short, unpleasant pieces. Each time she turned, the mattress squeaked. At 2, she dreamed strangers were carrying George out by his hands and feet, while Marcus put green stickers on his shoes. At 4:30, the elevated train in the distance began its morning rhythm. At 6, someone's boots passed the front windows, nothing but ankles moving through Helen's view. She switched on the yellow lamp and saw a spider descending from its shade. "Rent," she told it. "Everybody pays now." Her phone held 7 missed calls, 4 from Marcus, 2 from Lois, and 1 from a number she did not recognize. There was also a voicemail from Denise in Arizona. "Mom, call me. Marcus says you came home early and you're refusing to go back to Aunt Lois. He says you've decided to live downstairs without talking to anybody. I don't know what's going on, but please don't turn this into a war." Helen deleted the message, then regretted it. Deletion did not improve the content. The unknown number had left a voicemail too. A cheerful woman introduced herself as Brenda from North Shore Estate Services. "Marcus gave me your number because we found a small box of personal papers mixed in with the kitchen lot. Nothing valuable, I'm sure, but we'd like to return it. Also, one of the buyers has a question about the oak dining table. Please call when convenient." Helen sat upright. The movement sent pain through her knee, but she barely noticed. She returned upstairs, taking the rear steps one at a time. Morning entered the empty rooms without mercy. She found the flyer on the kitchen counter and dialed the number printed beneath a photograph of smiling strangers carrying someone else's chair. "North Shore Estate Services," the cheerful voice answered. "This is Helen Mercer." A pause followed, brief but unmistakable. "Oh," Brenda said. "We understood you had already moved into care. I'm standing in the apartment you emptied." The cheer vanished. Helen looked at George's photograph above the blank wall. "I want to know where my things went." Brenda exhaled into the phone. "Mrs. Mercer, I'm so sorry. Your son told us you had authorized him to manage the transition." "What transition?" "From the residence." "Where did he say I was going?" "He didn't give us a facility name, but he told you I was in one. He said you were recovering with family before moving into a supportive environment." Helen looked at the flyer. The smiling people in the photograph were carrying a floral sofa, each gripping one end as if cooperation made taking it respectable. "Did you ask to speak with me?" Marcus said calls were upsetting you. "Only the accurate ones. I understand why you're angry. I don't think you do." There was another pause, longer this time. In the background, a printer hummed and someone asked Brenda where the blue labels were. "No," Brenda said quietly. "I probably don't." Helen sat on the kitchen counter because there was no chair. The stone edge pressed against the back of her thighs. "Start with the table." "The oak dining table?" "I only had one." "A buyer contacted us yesterday. She owns a cafe and wanted to know whether the leaves were solid oak too. There's some disagreement with the person refinishing it." "Refinishing?" "Yes." The word disturbed Helen more than sold. She pictured a machine biting through the dark finish, erasing the pale water ring from Denise's overturned vase and the little crescent where Marcus had struck the edge with a belt buckle while dancing with Tara. "Did you give her my number?" "Absolutely not." "Why not?" "We protect customer information. You protected mine beautifully." Brenda accepted that without defending herself. "I can contact her and ask whether she's willing to speak to you," she said. "I can do the same for the other buyers, all of them. There were 43 transactions." Helen closed her eyes. 43 separate decisions had been made inside her home while she practiced bending her knee in Lois's living room. "I want an inventory," she said. "Every item, the price, the fees, and what your company paid my son. I can provide the final sale report." We emailed a preliminary copy to Marcus. "I am not Marcus. I know that now. You knew it before. You just didn't think it mattered." Brenda made a small sound that was not quite agreement. "The contract has his signature," she said. "He signed as the authorized family representative. What made him authorized? He stated that he was. Is that the entire system? We usually work with families after a death or a move. People hire us because they need to clear a home quickly. We don't ask to see a deed for every lamp. You sold the dresser with my underwear in it. We did not sell clothing from occupied drawers. You emptied the drawers into garbage bags first. I wasn't personally at the property during setup. How convenient for both of us." Helen heard the cruelty in her own voice. Brenda had not put the bags in the closet. Still, kindness felt like a luxury item that morning. Brenda gave her the address of the company's office and warehouse in Skokie. The box of personal papers was there, along with 3 lots that had not sold. A chipped ceramic umbrella stand, a box of Christmas decorations, and George's set of encyclopedias from 1976. "Those didn't sell?" Helen asked. "We don't see much demand for encyclopedias. George will be devastated." Brenda hesitated. "He's dead," Helen said. "I'm sorry." "So is he." She ended the call after arranging to come at 10. Getting to Skokie became a campaign conducted by people who did not trust Helen's knee. Rosa had already started work. Eileen had an appointment to have her teeth cleaned and offered to cancel it, which Helen considered excessive devotion. Celeste was free but drove like every other vehicle had been sent to kill her. "I'll take a cab," Helen told them in a group text Rosa had created without permission. 3 dots appeared from all 3 women at once. Celeste arrived 20 minutes later. She did not lecture. She opened the passenger door, moved a stack of library books from the floor, and waited while Helen lowered herself into the seat. "You know," Helen said, "I traveled alone yesterday. So I heard. I can still arrange transportation. I believe you. You came anyway. Rosa told me to." "Coward?" "Yes." Celeste drove with both hands at 10 and 2. At every yellow light, she slowed as if approaching a moral dilemma. Helen found it impossible to be anxious with someone else doing enough anxiety for the entire car. North Shore Estate Services occupied a low industrial building between a flooring showroom and a company that rented portable toilets. Inside, rows of metal shelves held the remains of other lives: punch bowls, framed landscapes, golf clubs, lamps without shades. Every object had a strip of colored tape. Brenda was younger than Helen expected, perhaps late 30s, with blonde hair twisted into a clip and reading glasses on a silver chain. She came around the desk holding a cardboard file box. "Mrs. Mercer?" "Yes." Brenda's eyes flicked toward the cane. Helen watched the flyer's story rearrange itself in the woman's mind. Not helpless, not confused, not somewhere else. "This is Celeste Moran," Helen said. "She has nothing to do with any of this, which makes her the most qualified person here." Celeste nodded. Brenda led them to a small room with a folding table and 4 chairs. Helen chose the firmest chair, then hated that Brenda noticed her choosing. The box contained appliance manuals, recipes, old bank statements, George's Union newsletters, and a stack of photographs that had been in the buffet drawer. Helen lifted one photograph. Marcus at 22, standing in front of the building with both arms raised after George handed him the keys to his first car. Brenda placed the sale report on the table. The pages were organized by room. Helen's home reduced to categories and dollar amounts. Living room sofa, $310. Pair of end tables, $85. Oak dining table with 6 chairs and 2 leaves, $625. Walnut buffet, $480. Maple bedroom set, sold separately. Bed frame, $175. Dresser, $240. 2 nightstands, $90. George's chair had gone for $60. The chair had a tier, Brenda said, then seemed to regret speaking. George put that tier there with a screwdriver in his back pocket. "I can contact the buyer." "Who bought it?" "A reseller. They purchased several pieces at the end of the day." "And the little maple cabinet from the bedroom?" Brenda traced the page with one finger. "Sewing cabinet and contents. $45. There were no contents. A woman bought it with a group of small pieces. She has a vintage shop on Milwaukee Avenue. Name, Pass Perfect." Helen wrote it on the back of the flyer. "The sale total was $6,714, Brenda said. "After our fee, labor, advertising, and disposal charges, we transferred $4,106 to Marcus." Helen looked up. "He told me he paid your percentage and still had $6,700 to account for. I can show you the transfer record." Marcus had lied even while confessing. It was not the largest lie. It was simply fresh. Brenda slid another page across the table. Marcus's signature leaned forward in the same impatient slant he had used since middle school. Beside a line asking the reason for sale, he had written, "Owner relocating, family managing property." Below that, he had checked a box confirming he was authorized to dispose of the listed contents. Helen touched the mark with one finger. "He was here every day," Brenda said. "He knew where everything was. He separated the personal papers. He seemed—" She stopped. "Busy?" "Upset." Helen looked at her. "The day we sold the dining table," Brenda continued, "he went outside after the buyer paid. I thought he was crying." Marcus had watched the table leave. The knowledge did not soften anything. It complicated it, which was less useful. Brenda offered to refund part of the company fee and help contact buyers. Helen refused to discuss money until she had the complete report. She took the box, the Christmas decorations, and the umbrella stand. The encyclopedias would not fit in Celeste's car, though Brenda promised not to dispose of them yet. On the drive home, the cardboard file box rested on Helen's lap. "Do you want to stop at Past Perfect?" Celeste asked. Helen looked at the address she had written. "Yes." Then she pictured another warehouse, another price tag, Another stranger explaining what her cabinet was worth. Her knee ached. She had not eaten. The photographs beneath her hands felt heavy enough. "No," she said. "Not today." Celeste nodded without trying to improve the decision. Marcus's truck was parked behind the 2 flat when they returned. He stood inside the downstairs apartment, with the yellow lamp switched off. The air mattress had been stripped, Tara's new sheets still folded on the frame. He held his copy of the estate sale contract. "Brenda called me," he said. "So she does make calls. You had no right to threaten her. I asked where my property went. You told her you might get a lawyer. I did not. She's refunding the fee. I didn't ask her to." Marcus looked at Celeste. "Can we talk privately?" Celeste took the box from Helen's lap. "Where do you want this?" "On the kitchen counter." "I can carry my mother's box," Marcus said. Neither woman answered him. Celeste set it down, then left with a quiet goodbye. The moment the door closed, Marcus placed the contract on the counter. "You embarrassed me." Helen stared at him. "That is the injury you found?" "I was trying to make this right. You lied about how much money you received." His face changed. $4,106, Helen said. "Not $6,700 after fees, before. I was confused yesterday. You were precise about the credit card. I paid other bills too. With my furniture. I said I'd pay you back. You also said Tara knew. She did know. She knew the story you gave her." Marcus turned away. The small kitchen forced him to face the refrigerator. "We have nowhere to go," he said. "You have a month. Our lease ends in a month. Finding a place takes time. Then I suggest you begin." He turned back. "You'd rather rent upstairs to strangers?" Helen had not said she would rent it. Until that moment, she had been thinking about beds, keys, and whether the downstairs tub needed a grab bar. Now she looked at the contract beneath his hand. Owner relocating. "Yes," she said. "I think I would." Marcus laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Strangers? Tenants? You complain about tenants constantly. I complained about Mr. Dugan pouring bacon grease down the sink. That was not a philosophical objection to renting. You'd put somebody you don't know over your own son. I knew Rosa when she moved in. That isn't the point. It is exactly the point. She signed a lease. She paid rent. She did not sell my bed." Marcus slapped the contract against the counter. The yellow lamp trembled from the motion. "You think I wanted to do that?" "Yes." "You think I enjoyed watching people pick through Dad's stuff?" "My stuff." His chair was his. He has no current use for it. Marcus stared at her. "That's cold. He's dead, Marcus. Dead is not cold. Dead is gone. I'm the person you confused with him." He turned away again, shoulders raised. The back of his jacket had a pale smear of paint across it. Helen recognized the color from the upstairs living room. He had chosen the same warm white she had used 8 years earlier, which meant he had either remembered or found the old can in the basement. "I did that floor for free," he said. "I didn't ask you to. I've done half the work on this building for free. Your father and I fed you for 18 years. Would you like us to exchange invoices?" "That is not the same." "No. We knew we were responsible for you." The line hurt him. She saw it and could not call it back. Marcus lifted the contract, folded it once, then opened it and smoothed the crease with his thumb. When Dad got sick, who came every day? Helen did not answer. Who fixed the bathroom after he broke the towel bar? Who drove him to the cardiologist when you couldn't get him into the car? I was there. I didn't say you weren't. You make it sound as if I was on vacation. I'm saying Denise wasn't here. She sent flowers and airline miles. I was here. I lost clients because I was here. And now you'd like the second floor. I'd like something in my life not to be falling apart. His voice cracked on the last word. Helen looked down at his hands. White dust sat in the creases around his fingernails. He had sanded her floor. He had also stood in the room while strangers carried away George's chair. Both things were true, and neither canceled the other. "I am sorry your business is failing," she said. Marcus's face closed. "It's not failing." "Then you don't need my apartment. You always do that." "Do what?" "Say the thing you know will cut deepest, then lower your voice so it sounds reasonable." Helen gripped the edge of the counter. "Get out." "Fine. And find the front key." "I told you, I don't have it." "Then pay to change the lock." He opened the door. "Marcus?" He stopped. "Did you tell Denise I refused to go back to Lois?" "I told her what happened." You told her your version before I knew there were versions. She's worried about you. Everyone is very worried. It's becoming expensive. He left without answering. Helen locked the door behind him and returned to the kitchen. The estate sale report lay where he had slapped it down. His copy. He had forgotten it in anger. On the final page, beneath the transfer total, someone had handwritten Marcus's bank information. Helen looked away. She did not need to memorize it. She did not want to become a person who collected ammunition simply because it was available. She put the report inside the cardboard box. Her knee had stiffened from standing. She took 2 slow circuits around the front room, heel down first, the way the therapist had shown her. The yellow lamp leaned. The lawn chair squeaked each time she passed it, as if offering commentary. At noon, Denise called again. Helen answered on the 4th ring. "What do you mean, war?" "Hello to you too," Denise said. Her voice carried the dry Arizona distance with it. Helen pictured her in the office of the dental practice she managed, surrounded by polished stone counters and artificial succulents. "Marcus says you're changing locks. He has not returned all the keys. He says you're threatening to rent the upstairs. I'm considering it. To punish him. To collect rent. Mom, you had knee replacement 3 weeks ago. 4. That is not the important part. It was important to my knee." Denise sighed. "Can you please listen without making a joke? Can you ask what happened without already knowing?" Silence stretched across 1,400 miles. "Marcus sold the furniture," Denise said finally. "Yes. He told me you wanted to downsize. I did not authorize a sale. He said you discussed moving near Aunt Lois. Everyone discusses moving near Lois. Then Lois speaks for 20 minutes without breathing, and the idea passes. Mom, he sold my bedroom set, Denise. He put my clothes in garbage bags. I know, and that was wrong." Again, the sentence arrived with a trailer attached. "But," Helen said, "but you have been saying for years that the building is too much. You call Marcus for every repair. You won't hire anyone because you say they charge too much, so he does it. Maybe he thought he could make the choice before I did." Denise went quiet. Helen opened the cardboard box and took out the photograph of Marcus with his first car. He had been so proud of those keys. George had made him wait 3 months after getting his license because he failed to return a borrowed wrench. "Did you know he and Tara planned to move upstairs?" Helen asked. "I knew they were considering it. Did you know he told Tara I agreed in May?" "No." "Did you know he gave notice at their rental?" "No." "Did you know he used the sale money to pay his credit card?" A longer pause. "He said there were expenses. There are always expenses. That doesn't make them mine." Denise exhaled. "What do you want me to do?" The question irritated Helen because it was the question she wanted everyone to ask. And now that Denise had asked it, Helen had no answer that did not sound childish. "I want you to stop using your brother as a news service. That's unfair. Is it inaccurate? I live in Scottsdale. He lives 15 minutes from you. I have a telephone in both locations. You don't tell me things. You don't ask until there's a crisis. I call every Sunday. You tell me about your office, because when I ask how you are, you say fine." Helen closed the box. They had reached familiar ground, worn smooth by years of avoiding the sharper places beneath it. "I am not fine," she said. Denise's breathing changed. "I came home, and my rooms were empty. I slept on an air mattress because your brother sold the bed your father and I slept in. I am angry, and I am embarrassed that the neighbors saw my underwear in garbage bags, and I don't yet know what I'm going to do. That is how I am. I can come." The offer was immediate. Helen distrusted herself for resenting how surprised it made her. "You have work. I have vacation days. You hate Chicago in summer. I hate Chicago in winter. In summer, I merely disapprove." Helen smiled despite herself. "Not yet," she said. "Let me get my feet under me. One of your feet is the problem. My knee, Denise, connected system." They ended without agreement. Denise promised to call the next evening. Helen made her promise not to call Marcus first. At 2, Celeste drove her to Past Perfect. The shop occupied a narrow storefront, crowded with objects arranged to look accidental. A glass bowl held old keys. Suitcases were stacked beneath a sign reading, "Travel used to have style." Helen wondered whether her mustard-colored suitcase had been made into a display before being sold. The maple sewing cabinet stood near the back, its scratches polished and its little brass handle shining. A tag hung from it. $165. Helen turned it over twice, hoping the price might improve from another angle. A woman with thick red glasses approached. That's a sweet piece, solid maple. I know. The drawers move beautifully, I know. You sew? I owned it until Saturday. The woman's expression changed. Her name was Gail. She had purchased 12 small pieces from the estate sale after closing, including the cabinet. She listened without interrupting, while Helen explained only the necessary facts. I paid $45 for it, Gail said. Then I cleaned it, tightened the back, replaced the drawer stop, and drove it here. I'm not asking you to lose money. Most people do. I'm asking you not to make $120 from my son's lie. Gail considered that. 75, 60, 70, and I'll deliver it. It will fit in the car. Celeste looked at the cabinet, then at the compact sedan visible outside. It will not. 70 with delivery, Helen said. Gail removed the tag. The purchase felt nothing like recovery. Helen handed over her debit card to buy something she had already paid for decades earlier, the receipt printed with a cheerful chirp. As Gail carried the cabinet toward the front, Helen noticed a dark wooden arm rising behind a row of lamps. She stopped. The chair had George's deep imprint in the cushion, and the screwdriver tear along the right side. A green tag hung from its arm. $240. Gail followed Helen's gaze. That came from the same sale, she said carefully. Helen placed one hand on the worn fabric. George's chair. $60 on Brenda's report. 4 times that now. She could buy it. The money existed, though not comfortably. Property taxes were due in August. The downstairs bathroom needed a grab bar. She needed a real bed. Do you want me to hold it? Gail asked. Helen withdrew her hand. Until tomorrow, she said. Outside, her phone rang before Celeste could open the car. Brenda's name appeared on the screen. The cafe owner agreed to speak with you, Brenda said when Helen answered. But you should know they've already started sanding the table. Through the shop window, George's chair sat beneath its green price tag. How much have they changed? Helen asked. I don't know. When can I see it? They're closed tonight. She said tomorrow morning. Helen looked at the cabinet waiting beside Gail's register. Then at her reflection among all the things other people had decided to release. I'll be there when they open. The cafe was still under construction when Helen arrived. Brown paper covered the windows, and a handwritten sign on the door said, Opening soon, which in Chicago could mean next Tuesday or never. A woman in paint-splattered jeans unlocked the door. She was broad-shouldered, perhaps 50, with a silver streak running through short black hair. Helen? Yes. I'm Anita Pierce. Brenda showed me your picture from the sale file. Helen did not know there was a picture of her in the sale file. She stored that irritation for later. Anita held the door while Helen stepped over a coil of extension cord. The cafe smelled of sawdust, coffee grounds, and fresh plaster. Half the room was filled with mismatched wooden tables. George's table stood upside down in the center, its legs pointing toward the ceiling. One half of the top had been sanded pale. Helen stopped. The old finish ended in a sharp line. On one side lived 38 years of darkened oak, water rings, scratches, and wax. On the other, the wood looked newly cut, stripped of every meal it had survived. My refinisher stopped when I called him, Anita said. He wasn't happy about it. He charges by the emotion, mostly by the hour. Helen walked closer. The table's leaves leaned against the wall. George had once dropped one on his foot and invented a phrase so obscene, Marcus repeated it for weeks, without understanding any of the words. She touched the sanded surface. It was smooth and cool. You bought 6 chairs too, she said. They're in back. 2 need regluing. They always needed regluing. Anita remained a few steps away, giving Helen room without making a performance of it. I'm sorry, she said. The estate company told me the owner had moved into care. That story has enjoyed a wide circulation. I wouldn't have bought it if I'd known. Helen glanced at her. Would you have believed an older woman wanted to sell a table? Of course. Then don't apologize for buying it. I'm apologizing for the way it was sold. That was harder to dismiss. Anita had planned to place the table in the back of the cafe for book clubs and community dinners. The size Helen had complained about for years was precisely what made Anita want it. She showed Helen the sketches, the table beneath a row of pendant lights, surrounded by George's 6 repaired chairs and 2 benches Anita intended to build. It seats 10 with the leaves, Helen said. The sale listing said 12. The sale listing was optimistic. I run a cafe. Optimism is required by the lender. Helen circled the upside-down table. Near the unsanded edge, she found the crescent-shaped gouge from Marcus's belt buckle. A few inches away was the dark spot where George had set down a hot roasting pan, despite being told, loudly, that a folded dish towel was not a trivet. "You want it back?" Anita said. It was not a question. Helen did. The wanting was immediate and childish. She wanted the table upright in the apartment where it belonged, even if no chairs surrounded it, and even if it left only a narrow path to the kitchen. She wanted Marcus to see it returned and understand that he had failed to make his decision permanent. "How much?" she asked. "I paid $6.25 for the table and chairs. Delivery was $100. The refinisher has 6 hours into it, plus supplies." "How much?" "To make myself whole." $900, the number entered Helen's mental ledger. $900 for the table, $240 for George's chair if Gail refused to bargain further. A bed. A mattress that did not sigh each time she moved. A grab bar, bathroom tile, property taxes in August. The new boiler loan beginning in October. "I could stop the refinishing," Anita said. "Leave the other half as it is. That would look ridiculous. It would have a story. Everything ridiculous has a story. It does not improve the appearance." Anita smiled. "The offer can stand until tomorrow." Helen ran her fingertips over the border between old finish and bare wood. On the sanded half, the ring from Denise's vase was already gone. A deep knife mark remained, but lighter. Another few passes would erase it, too. "What happens if I don't buy it?" Helen asked. "We finish the table. We open the cafe. People spill coffee on it." "Immediately? If business goes well?" Helen imagined strangers setting laptops where George had carved the turkey. She expected the picture to feel like trespass. Instead, it looked almost like use. "Don't hold it," she said. Anita blinked. "You're sure?" "No, that's not the same answer. It's the one I have." Outside, a cab idled at the curb. Helen took one last look at the table's upturned legs. "Keep the crescent near the edge," she said, "if your refinisher can work around it." Anita came closer to inspect the mark. "What made it?" "My son dancing. Good dancer?" "Terrible belt." Anita nodded. "We'll keep it." During the ride home, Brenda called twice. Helen ignored the first call and answered the second. "I have responses from 5 buyers," Brenda said. "The woman who purchased the buffet is willing to send photographs, but she's already paid to have it refinished. The person with one nightstand says she can sell it back for what she paid plus delivery. The person who bought the dresser hasn't responded. The bedroom frame went to a rental property." "What about the suitcase?" "Mustard-colored?" "Yes. It was sold with 2 other pieces of luggage for $30. To whom?" "A dealer at the flea market in Rosemont. I'm trying to reach him." Helen closed her eyes. A suitcase she had not opened in 20 years was pulling her toward Rosemont. "Stop," she said. Brenda went quiet. "Stop contacting people?" "For now." "I thought you wanted all of them." "So did I." "Mrs. Mercer, we can keep trying." "I know. Thank you." The thanks surprised both of them. Helen watched storefronts slide past the cab window. Nail salons, laundromats, a locksmith advertising security begins with control. The message felt personally directed. At home, Gail's delivery van was parked in front of the building. The maple cabinet stood in the downstairs front room, polished enough to reflect the yellow lamp. Gail had placed the empty drawers on the air mattress while she and Celeste checked the back for wobbling. "I did not authorize a committee," Helen said. "You didn't answer your phone," Celeste replied. "I was examining my table upside down." Gail slid a drawer into place. "Did you get it back?" "No." Both women looked at her. "It costs $900, Helen said, "and it will not fit down here unless I sleep beneath it." "You could put it upstairs," Celeste said, "so I can rent the apartment furnished with one enormous table. I've seen worse listings." Helen set her handbag on the cabinet. The little brass handle shone. She opened the top drawer and found a single white button tucked in the corner. It had somehow escaped Brenda's inventory, Marcus's clearing, Gail's cleaning, and the $45 sale. She held it on her palm. The button was not important. She could not remember what garment it belonged to. Still, its survival pleased her more than it should have. "Did you look at the chair again?" Gail asked. "I saw it. I can do 190. You offered 165 for the cabinet after paying 45. I had work in the cabinet. You dusted it. I repaired the drawer stop. With a thumbtack. A quality thumbtack. Celeste leaned against the wall, interested. Helen said, 150. I paid 60 for the chair and spent 40 getting it here. Then 150 is a profit. 175, delivered, 160, and you bring it before dinner. Gail held out her hand. You are exhausting. So was George. The chair is accustomed. They shook. When the chair arrived, Helen directed the delivery men to place it near the front window. The screwdriver tear faced the wall. The deep depression in the cushion remained, refusing to accommodate her body the way it had George's. She sat anyway. It smelled faintly of furniture polish and someone else's warehouse. Beneath that was the wool coat George used to drape over the back. Or perhaps Helen only imagined it. The maple cabinet stood within reach. The ugly lamp leaned beside it. For the first time, the room held a grouping rather than emergency supplies. Celeste found coffee in her car, a bag she had forgotten to deliver to Rosa, and made 2 cups in Rosa's chipped medical supply mug, and a glass measuring cup from Eileen. You're not buying the table, she said. I didn't say that. You left it there. I left George at the funeral home once. I still picked him up. Celeste sipped from the measuring cup. That is the worst comparison available. I'm tired, I know. Helen looked toward the low front windows. The legs of a man walking a terrier passed, followed by the wheels of a shopping cart. If I buy everything back, she said, Marcus still decided he could sell it. I'll just have less money, Celeste waited. I hate that table, Helen continued. It is too big, and the chairs pinch your legs, and one leaf never sits flat. I've complained about it since 1987, so why did you go? Because it was mine to hate. That evening, Marcus returned the front key. He slid it under the downstairs door without knocking. Helen heard the small scrape from George's chair and reached the hallway in time to see his shadow move past the frosted glass. Marcus. The shadow stopped. She opened the door. He stood with one hand in his jacket pocket, looking at the sidewalk rather than at her. You found it, she said. Tara had it. Why? She was going to measure the bedroom this weekend. Helen gripped the doorframe. After the sale. Yes. So she knew the apartment was empty. She thought you agreed, Ma. I know what she thought. Marcus glanced past her. From the sidewalk, he could see the chair beneath the yellow lamp. His face changed. You bought that back. I did. How much? 160. It sold for 60. I am familiar with the joke. I'll pay the difference. You'll repay everything. I said I would, not from a business job that may or may not happen. We'll make a schedule. His jaw tightened. You're treating me like a thief. I'm treating you like a man who owes me money. He looked at the chair again. What about the table? It's at a cafe. I know. Brenda called me because the owner was upset. The owner was not upset. She said, you went there. Yes. Are you buying it back? No. Marcus seemed startled. Why not? Because I need a bed more than I need to prove something to you. He flinched. Helen could have stopped there. Instead, she said, they're going to use it for people who want to sit together. It has experience. Marcus looked toward the street. Dad loved that table. Your father loved pot roast. The table was nearby. You don't have to make everything sound stupid just because it hurts. Helen's hand tightened on the doorframe. I saw the mark from your belt buckle, she said. Marcus's eyes returned to hers. You and Tara were dancing. New Year's Eve. You knocked the bowl of onion dip onto the floor. Dad said I moved like a shopping cart with a bad wheel. He was right. A reluctant smile touched Marcus's mouth, then vanished. I watched them take it out, he said. I almost stopped them. Why didn't you? Because Tara and I had already given notice. Because I had painters coming. Because if I stopped one thing, I'd have to admit the whole plan was wrong. There was the truth she had asked for. It brought no relief. Marcus lowered his voice. I didn't think you'd come back here. I know. I mean, after surgery. I thought once you were at Lois's, you'd see how much easier it was. For whom? He shook his head. We always get to that. Because you never answer. A car horn sounded at the corner. Marcus stepped backward. I'll bring a repayment plan tomorrow, he said, and the sale photographs. What photographs? Brenda has pictures of the rooms. His face closed again. You don't need those. I will decide what I need. He walked toward his truck. Marcus. He stopped without turning. I'm going to rent the upstairs. His shoulders rose, then lowered. To who? I haven't decided. You've decided it won't be me. Yes. He stood motionless for several seconds. When he finally looked back, his face held neither anger nor shame, only the stunned grief of someone learning that an expectation had never been a promise. You're going to regret doing this just to teach me a lesson, he said. Helen touched the front key in her palm. I'm not giving up rent to teach you anything, she replied. Learning will have to be your expense. Marcus drove away without looking back. Helen closed the door and sat in George's chair until the streetlights came on. The cushion sloped toward the right, shaped by years of his wallet riding in the same back pocket. She kept sliding into the hollow and pushing herself out again. Still inconsiderate, she told him. The next morning, Marcus left an envelope in the mailbox. Inside was a typed repayment plan, 3 pages of sale photographs, and no note. The plan proposed $100 a month for 41 months, with a final payment of $6. He had listed the debt as $4,106, the amount transferred to him by North Shore Estate Services. There was no mention of the $70 Helen paid for the maple cabinet, the $100 she had lost buying back George's chair, or the hundreds of objects he had sold for far less than replacing them would cost. The photographs were worse. The first showed her living room before the sale opened. Green stickers clung to everything. George's chair wore a large number on its back. The oak table had been expanded with both leaves, not for a meal, but to display glassware, serving bowls, and her silverware in plastic bags. The photograph of George still hung on the wall above it all, smiling into the liquidation. Helen turned the picture face down. Upstairs, she opened every window. Warm air moved through the empty rooms, stirring dust in the corners. Marcus had refinished the floors well. The boards shone honey-colored in the morning light, and the fresh paint made the apartment look larger. He had patched the crack above the dining room arch, though badly. A raised seam showed beneath the white. She walked with a notebook, seeing the apartment as a landlord rather than as the woman who had lived there. The front bedroom closet needed a new shelf. One kitchen outlet was loose. The dining room ceiling fixture had disappeared during the sale, leaving a bare bulb. The toilet ran. Marcus had removed the curtain rods, perhaps assuming Tara would choose new ones. Helen wrote each item down with an estimated cost. At the bottom of the page, she wrote bed. Then she crossed it out. A tenant would bring a bed. Helen needed one downstairs. She called a furniture store and learned that a decent mattress cost more than her entire bedroom set had brought at the sale. The salesman kept saying, sleep system, as if a mattress required software. Helen ordered the least expensive firm model that did not sound like it had been stuffed with old newspaper. Delivery would take 4 days. She called Marcus. He answered cautiously. Did you get the envelope? Yes, I used a standard repayment template. From where? Online. It shows. What's wrong with it? You owe more than $4,100. That's what I received. You caused $6,700 of my property to be sold. The estate company took fees. I did not hire them. They're refunding part of it. That refund belongs to me. So, you want me to pay money I never got? I want you to understand that damage costs more than whatever landed in your checking account. Marcus went silent. Helen looked down at the sale photograph. On the table sat her blue glass pitcher with a $6 sticker. She had bought it in Door County the summer George's mother died. They had driven north because grief made George restless, and he had spent an hour choosing cherries from a roadside stand, as if the correct bag might repair something. I bought back 2 pieces, she said. That cost me $230. You didn't have to buy them. Helen gripped the phone tighter. Try that sentence again. I mean, Brenda is working with buyers. You could have waited. I waited while you sold them. What number do you want? I don't know yet. You can't reject a plan without a number. Watch me. Marcus breathed into the phone. Tara is staying with a friend. Helen had not asked. I'm sorry, she said anyway. She thinks I tricked her into giving up our lease. You did. I thought you would agree eventually. That is not agreement. I know that now. The last word irritated her. Now, as if the knowledge had arrived through weather rather than consequence. What did your father tell you about the building? She asked. Marcus hesitated. What? When he was sick. Did he promise you the upstairs? No. Did he tell you to move me out? Of course not. Then stop bringing him into it. You bring him into everything. He was my husband. He was my father. The answer came so quickly that Helen lost her next sentence. Marcus continued, quieter. You don't own all the missing him. Neither spoke. A siren traveled along the avenue and faded. I'll revise the plan, he said. Include the buybacks. Fine. And the locksmith. You have both keys. I don't know whether copies exist. I didn't make copies. You also didn't have the front key. He muttered something. What? I said fine. They disconnected without saying goodbye. At noon, Rosa came by to return the last mailbox key. She brought Celeste in a paper sack containing 2 bagels, cream cheese, and 4 screws she claimed belonged to the downstairs medicine cabinet. They do not, Helen said after examining them. I found them under the refrigerator. The medicine cabinet is not under the refrigerator. I'm giving you all available information. Helen showed them the upstairs. Rosa stopped in the front room. This looks different. There's nothing in it. That would do it. Celeste walked to the windows and looked toward the street. Better light than my place. Rosa glanced at her. The glance was quick, but not quick enough. Helen opened the dining room window. How is the move? Finished, Rosa said. Technically? Technically means the boxes are inside. The boxes are inside. Celeste leaned against the sill. My apartment is 1 bedroom. You knew that before moving, Helen said. We believed love would reduce our volume. It has not, Rosa added. Celeste owns 17 lamps. They create zones. In 1 bedroom, every zone is the same zone. Helen watched them look around. Rosa opened the kitchen cabinet where she had once kept her tea. Celeste measured the wall with her eyes. The idea formed so naturally, Helen distrusted it. I'm going to rent this, she said. Rosa's hand stopped on the cabinet door. To Marcus? Celeste asked. No. Neither woman spoke. Helen continued toward the bedroom, forcing them to follow. The market rate is probably $2,100, maybe more after the floors. I would need to check. Heat is separate. Laundry is in the basement. Rosa narrowed her eyes. Are you offering us the apartment? I am stating facts. You only state facts that lead somewhere. I also state facts when people install bolts from my lamp into furniture. Celeste looked pleased. It held. Rosa walked through the front bedroom and tested the closet door. We just moved, technically. We combined utilities, changed addresses, rented a van. I didn't say you had to decide today. What would you charge? Helen had spent the morning looking at listings. The updated apartments with white kitchens and gray floors asked absurd amounts. The ones with brown cabinets asked slightly less absurd amounts. $1,900, she said. You pay gas and electric. I handle water and building maintenance. Rosa leaned against the doorframe. That's below market. It accounts for the kitchen cabinets. They are ugly. They are structurally ugly. And you'd be downstairs. I already am. Rosa looked at Celeste. We would need a real lease. I would insist on one. A security deposit. Yes. No doing errands in exchange for rent. Helen bristled. I didn't suggest that. No calling us instead of Marcus every time a light bulb burns out. A burned-out bulb is a tenant's responsibility. A boiler is yours. I know how leases work, Rosa. I know. I had one with you. Celeste moved into the hall, leaving space between them. We should talk privately. About the apartment? Rosa asked. About whether our relationship can survive moving twice in 1 month. Helen returned downstairs while they continued looking. She felt foolish for making the offer, and more foolish for wanting them to accept. The mattress company called to move delivery back another day. Eileen brought the hand mixer and a bag containing 3 dish towels Helen had not known were missing. One towel had a rooster embroidered on it. I paid for these too, Eileen confessed. How much? $4 for the lot. You can keep the rooster. I don't like him. Neither do I. They compromised by putting him in the rag drawer. Near 3, a rideshare stopped in front of the building. Helen saw only a pair of sensible beige shoes and the wheels of a dark red suitcase through the low window. The doorbell rang before she could stand. Denise waited outside, wearing linen pants, sunglasses, and the expression of a woman who had spent an entire flight composing arguments. Helen opened the door. You said not yet. You also said you weren't fine. Denise removed her sunglasses. At 51, she had George's narrow face and Helen's habit of lifting one eyebrow when offended. They hugged awkwardly around the cane. You could have told me your flight, Helen said. You would have told me not to come. That is not a reason to abandon basic scheduling. It's an excellent reason. Denise rolled her suitcase inside and stopped at the sight of George's chair. You got it back. I bought it back. The correction mattered. Denise heard that. She walked through the apartment slowly, touching the maple cabinet, the tilted lamp, the lawn chair. Her gaze paused on the air mattress. Where are your clothes? In bags upstairs. They climbed the rear stairs together, Denise in front, and Helen refusing the offered hand. In the bedroom, the contractor bags remained piled inside the closet. Denise opened one and found sweaters. The next held shoes, belts, and a framed photograph wrapped in a bathrobe. This is unbelievable. You believed Marcus yesterday. I did not believe this. Denise crossed to the opposite wall and looked down at the clean stretch of floor. Where's the cedar chest? Helen turned. The cedar chest had stood beneath the bedroom window for more than 20 years. Helen had not noticed its absence separately from everything else. It must have sold. No. Denise shook her head. Marcus said he moved it. When? Before the sale. I asked him specifically. Dad kept his service things in there. His bus pins, his retirement watch, the letters from Grandpa. Marcus said he put the whole chest in storage. Helen pictured the sale report arranged by room. Bedroom set. Linens, sewing cabinet, small cedar storage chest, and contents. $120. She had read past it. Denise took out her phone. What are you doing? Helen asked. Calling him. He may be working. Then he can stop. Marcus answered quickly enough that Denise did not need to put the call on speaker. Helen heard his voice from where she stood. Did Mom put you up to this? Denise's face hardened. I'm standing in her empty bedroom, she said. Where is Dad's cedar chest? Silence crossed the room. Then Marcus said, I can explain. Go ahead, Denise said. Explain. I set it aside. It's on the sale report. I know that now. You signed the report. I signed the contract before they finished the inventory. Helen leaned against the empty closet. Marcus, where did you set it aside? In the back bedroom. I put blue tape on it. The sale company used green tape, Denise said. That was the point. Blue meant keep. Did anyone know that? I told one of the workers. Which worker? I don't remember her name. Denise closed her eyes briefly. What was inside? You know what was inside. I want to know whether you know. Dad's transit stuff, papers, a watch, his retirement watch. Yes. The letters from his father? I assume so. You assume? Marcus's voice sharpened. I was clearing an entire apartment by myself. You hired a company. I still had to make decisions. Mom kept every piece of paper Dad touched. Helen straightened. I did not. You had a receipt for tires from 1994. The tires were defective. The car has been gone for 18 years. That does not make the tires less defective. Denise held up one hand. Stop. Marcus, did you tell me the chest was in storage? I thought it was. You said you moved it yourself. I meant, I moved it out of the sale area. That is not what you said. Fine. I lied because you were calling from Arizona, asking questions while I was trying to get things done. Denise went still. Marcus had mistaken the distance for protection. Helen saw, the moment he realized it had only delayed impact. I'm calling Brenda, Denise said. I already did. She's looking for the buyer. When did you call? 10 minutes ago, after she told me Mom had the photos. So you knew before I called you. I knew there might be a problem. There is always a might with you until somebody else finds the damage. Marcus swore softly. Come here, Denise said. I'm working. You told Mom you were meeting someone yesterday. You left the estate contract downstairs. Tara isn't speaking to you. How much work are you doing, Marcus? More than you? Denise's face flushed. Helen took the phone from her hand before either sibling could return fully to adolescence. Come at 6, she told Marcus. Bring the revised repayment plan. Denise will still be here. I don't need an ambush. It stops being an ambush when I give you the time. She disconnected. Denise stared at the bare floor where the chest had stood. I asked him, she said. I asked about one thing. Helen picked up a contractor bag and dragged it toward the bed's old position. You asked about one thing because you trusted him with the rest. I trusted you too. I was in Wisconsin learning how to climb stairs. You could have called me before the surgery. I did call. You told me not to come. You had your quarterly reports. I would have come. Helen pulled open another bag. bras and stockings spilled onto the floor. "Would you?" she asked. Denise recoiled as if Helen had thrown something. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Make me guilty for listening when you say you don't need me." The same accusation, delivered in a different voice. Helen sat on the windowsill, her knee bent with a dull resistance. "Your brother said something similar. That doesn't mean he gets the apartment." "I didn't say it did, but you thought it." Helen looked at her daughter. Denise's linen pants were creased from travel. A small stain marked the cuff, perhaps coffee from the plane. She had come directly from the airport, angry and frightened, and Helen had met her with an audit. "I did tell you not to come," Helen said. "Yes, I did not tell Marcus to sell the furniture." "No, both things can be true." Denise folded her arms. "That sounds like something you rehearsed." "I'm recovering quickly." They went through the bags together. Marcus had packed nothing with care, but he had not thrown anything away. Shoes were mixed with framed pictures. A bathroom wastebasket held Helen's jewelry box, and 3 rolls of toilet paper. Denise found George's wool scarf wrapped around a ceramic angel with a broken wing. "Why did you keep this?" she asked. "Your father said it looked like Aunt Lois. It doesn't." "The wing isn't the resemblance." Denise laughed, then sat on the floor beside the bag. The sound collapsed into tears so abruptly that Helen pretended to examine a sweater. "I wasn't here," Denise said. "No, I should have been. You live in Arizona. I chose Arizona. For a job. For 600 miles between me and everyone needing something. 1,400. Thank you. You were always bad with distance." Denise wiped her face with George's scarf before realizing what she held. "Great. Now I've cried on Dad. He's survived worse." Brenda called before noon. The cedar chest had been purchased by a man who operated a booth at an antique mall outside Elgin. He had paid $120 for the chest and its contents. Brenda had left 2 messages. "Do you know if he still has it?" Denise asked. "No. Dealers often separate contents from furniture. Why would anyone buy old transit pins?" "Collectors," Helen said. Denise looked at her. "How do you know? Your father spent 20 years explaining that someone somewhere wanted every object he owned." Brenda promised to continue trying. Helen refused Denise's offer to drive to Elgin immediately. There was no address beyond the antique mall, and Denise's rental car remained at the airport because she had taken a rideshare. More important, Helen could feel the search beginning to feed itself, the urgent belief that movement was the same as repair. They ate bagels downstairs. Denise sat in the lawn chair. Helen took George's chair, and both women used the maple cabinet as a table. "This is bleak," Denise said, balancing cream cheese on one knee. "It was bleaker before the chair. You paid to get it back? 100 more than the man who bought it. Marcus should pay." "He will. Did he agree?" "He is revising a template." Denise looked toward the ceiling. "Are you really renting upstairs?" "Yes. To Rosa, possibly Rosa and Celeste." "Isn't that awkward?" "Only if they stop paying rent. Marcus is going to lose his mind. Then he can pay a separate fee for that." Rosa called after lunch. "We want it," she said without greeting. "The apartment?" "No, your rooster dish towel." Helen looked at the rag drawer. Too late. "It has a position." "The apartment. If the offer is real." "It is real." "Celeste wants to replace the dining room light." "She can replace it after I approve the fixture." "She knew you'd say that." "When can you move?" Rosa sighed. "We are still surrounded by boxes at Celeste's, so emotionally, we never completed the first move. Financially, we need to look at the deposit. You'll have Rosa's old deposit returned as soon as I inspect downstairs. You're living in downstairs, I've noticed. If you deduct anything after moving into it yourself, I will become difficult. You have always contained the potential." They agreed to review a lease the next afternoon. Helen would give them a week before rent began. Enough time to move without paying for 2 apartments at once. Rosa objected that it was too generous. Helen pointed out that the upstairs had no curtain rods and a running toilet. They compromised by calling the week a repair period. Denise listened from the lawn chair. "You sound happy," she said after Helen hung up. "I sound efficient. You like them." "They were good tenants. That isn't what I said." Helen gathered the bagel wrappers. "Liking tenants is dangerous. It makes rent increases awkward." At 6:10, Marcus arrived with a blue folder under his arm. He stopped when he saw Denise at the downstairs table, a folding card table Eileen had produced from her basement that afternoon. Helen had covered it with one of the sale company inventory sheets by mistake, then left the paper visible. "You came," Marcus said to Denise. "You didn't." "I'm 15 minutes late. I mean, when Mom had surgery." He looked at Helen. "Did you call me here for this?" "I called you for the repayment plan." Marcus put the blue folder on the table. $5,000, $125 a month, 40 months. That includes what Mom spent buying things back and the lock change. "The property sold for $6,700, Denise said. "The company took fees. That is not her problem. You heard that line from her." "I read the report." Marcus pulled out a chair and sat. "Of course you did." Denise placed the cedar chest entry in front of him. "You promised me this was safe. I made a mistake." "No. You lied after the mistake so I wouldn't interfere. What would you have done from Scottsdale?" "I would have told Mom, and then she would have come back early and hurt herself." Helen touched the table. "I did come back early, exactly, and I did not hurt myself. Yet." The words silenced all three of them. Marcus rubbed his forehead. "That came out wrong." "It came out clearly," Helen said. Denise leaned forward. "You think because you were here, you got to decide. That's what this is. You weren't here. I know. You don't get to fly in after everything is done and act like the loyal daughter." "I'm not acting loyal. I'm admitting I was relieved you handled things." Marcus looked at her. "I let you be in charge," Denise continued, "because then I didn't have to feel bad about being away. When you said Mom agreed, I believed you because believing you was convenient." Helen watched Marcus absorb an admission he had expected as an accusation. Denise pushed the report toward him. "That still does not make her stuff yours." Marcus looked down at the cedar chest entry. "I'll find it," he said. "You don't know where it is. I'll go to the antique mall tomorrow. So will I." "Fine. I'm not riding with you?" "Also fine." Their voices had acquired the clipped rhythm of childhood battles in the back seat. Helen opened the blue folder. The repayment plan was printed on company letterhead for Marcus's remodeling business. $5,000, no interest. First payment beginning in 2 months. "Why 2 months?" she asked. "I have to move. You no longer have moving expenses upstairs. I still have to find somewhere. First payment next month." "Ma, next month." He stared at her, then nodded. Helen took out a pen. "And this is not the full amount. It is what we start with while Brenda finishes the accounting. 5,000 is more than I received. You keep saying that as if I arranged your fees." Marcus looked toward Denise for support and found none. "What's happening upstairs?" he asked. "Rosa and Celeste are taking it," Helen said. His face emptied. "You already offered it?" "Yes." "What are they paying?" "That is between landlord and tenants. I did the floors in that apartment. They look very nice. I painted it. Except behind the radiator. I didn't have the right brush. You had access to every brush I owned before you sold them." Denise made a choking sound and covered it with a cough. Marcus stood so quickly the folding table shook. "You've made your point." "I haven't made a point," Helen said. "I have made a lease. You chose them because they showed up with a mattress. I chose them because they asked before taking possession." He picked up the blue folder, then seemed to remember it was no longer his and released it. At the door, Denise spoke. "We're going to Elgin at 9. Marcus kept his hand on the knob. "I'll be here," he said. After he left, Helen looked at the repayment plan. His signature waited at the bottom, alone. Denise followed her gaze. "He'll sign." "That isn't what worries me." "What does?" Helen could still see Marcus standing in the empty upstairs apartment, a paint roller in one hand, convincing himself that labor changed the name on the door. That he really believed it was his, she said. The next morning, Marcus arrived at 8:40 in his truck. Denise stood at the curb beside a silver rental car she had collected before dawn. She wore sunglasses again, though the sky was overcast. "I said I wasn't riding with you," she told him. "I didn't ask you to. You parked behind me. It's a public street. You took 2 spaces." Marcus looked at the distance between his bumper and the car behind him. "That's 1 space. It's 1 selfish space." Helen came through the front door with her cane, handbag, and the cardboard box of George's papers. Both of them turned. "No," Marcus said. "You're not coming," Denise added. Helen locked the door. "Excellent. We agree on something." "The antique mall is an hour away," Marcus said. "Then we should stop discussing the parking. Your knee will remain attached." "You don't need to be there," Denise said more gently. "The chest came from my bedroom. It has Dad's things. Your father also came from my bedroom. You do not outrank me in this category." Marcus looked toward the street. Denise removed her sunglasses, then put them back on. They took Denise's rental car because Helen refused to climb into the truck, and Denise refused to let Marcus drive. Marcus sat in the back with the cardboard box on his lap. For the first 20 minutes, the only voice belonged to the navigation system. It directed Denise onto the expressway in a tone of serene confidence unavailable to anyone else in the car. At a toll, Marcus leaned forward. "You're in the wrong lane, I can see. That's the cash lane. I have cash. You're supposed to use the transponder. I don't have a transponder. The rental company includes one. Then, why is the gate asking me for $3? Helen looked out the window. George would be very proud. We've been together 12 minutes and already lost to infrastructure. Marcus sat back. The antique mall occupied a former grocery store outside Elgin. Inside, fluorescent lights illuminated rows of booths separated by pegboard walls. Every aisle smelled of dust, cinnamon candles, and furniture oil. A man named Warren met them at the front desk. He was in his 60s, with a gray ponytail and a magnifying lens clipped to his glasses. "I spoke with Brenda," he said. "I didn't know there was a dispute." "Neither did the furniture," Helen replied. Warren had already moved the cedar chest into a back room. It stood on a furniture dolly with a price tag tied around one brass handle. $395. Denise stopped beside it. The lid bore the same pale scratch George made, dragging a bus sign across it. Helen remembered the argument. He had insisted the sign would fit inside. Helen had insisted geometry existed. Denise lifted the lid. The cedar smell remained, faint beneath a sharper chemical polish. Inside lay a folded bus route map, 3 uniform patches, and a plastic bag of pins. Most of the chest was empty. "Where's the watch?" Denise asked. Warren adjusted the magnifying lens. There was a wristwatch, gold-colored face, brown leather band. "I separated some pieces for the display cases." He led them to a locked glass cabinet near the front. George's retirement watch lay among costume jewelry and military medals, tagged at $85. 2 of his service pins sat in a tray marked Chicago Transit Collectibles. Marcus pressed both hands against his pockets. "The letters?" Helen asked. "What kind of letters?" "Envelopes tied with green ribbon," Denise said. "Postmarked in the 50s and 60s. Warren's expression became cautious. There were papers in the chest. "We moved the collectible material to ephemera." "What did you do with the uncollectible material?" Marcus asked. "Some was discarded. It had mildew." Denise made a small sound. Warren led them to a booth filled with postcards, magazines, sheet music, and political buttons. A shallow wooden crate on the floor held bundled letters priced by decade. Helen lowered herself carefully onto a stool while Marcus and Denise searched. The letters had been written by George's father during the years he worked road construction across Illinois. They were not eloquent, most concerned weather, money, and the condition of a truck that apparently failed every 20 miles. George had kept them because the handwriting belonged to a man who rarely said much when home. Denise found 3 envelopes mixed with postcards from Florida. Marcus found 7 in a box labeled Family Correspondence, assorted. The green ribbon was gone. "That's not all of them," Denise said. "No," Helen replied. They searched for 40 minutes. Warren helped after locking the front register, though he kept interrupting to explain that estate lots usually arrive without personal histories. He was not defensive so much as professionally tired of being blamed for objects outliving their context. In the end, they recovered 14 letters, the watch, the pins, the route map, and the chest. Warren offered to return the letters without charge. He would sell the chest and watch for what he had paid, plus his transport cost, $280 total. Marcus reached for his wallet. Denise caught his arm. "You're putting it on a credit card. I don't have $280 in cash. You just paid down the card with Mom's money. I'm aware." Helen opened her handbag. "No," both children said. She looked between them. That was almost musical. "I'm paying," Marcus said. "With debt," Denise replied. "It's my debt. It becomes Tara's debt. Tara is not speaking to me. That doesn't make the statement less true." Warren stood behind the counter, holding the watch in a padded envelope, pretending to study the ceiling. Helen put her debit card away. "Marcus pays $140. Denise pays $140. Both turned toward her. "Why am I paying?" Denise asked. Because you were going to fly to Chicago and demand one sentimental object remain untouched while leaving your brother to sort the rest. That is not the same as selling it. No, it is the same as assuming he would get everything right. Marcus looked almost grateful until Helen added, "And you pay your half because you lied." His gratitude disappeared. They divided the cost. At the car, Marcus lifted the chest into the trunk. Denise rearranged her suitcase to make room, criticizing his angle until he stepped aside and let her discover there was no better one. Helen sat in the passenger seat with George's watch in her palm. The crystal had a scratch near the number 4. He had worn it every day for 12 years, though it ran 7 minutes slow. George claimed correcting it would be disrespectful to his retirement committee, who had purchased it after collecting money in an envelope labeled George Escape Fund. "Who gets the watch?" Marcus asked from the back seat. Helen closed her hand around it. "No one today." "That's fair," Denise said. Marcus looked out the window. On the expressway, they passed the cafe where the oak table waited. Brown paper still covered the windows. Helen did not turn her head, though she knew the exit. The silence held until Denise asked, "How many appointments did Dad have that last year?" Marcus answered immediately. "Cardiology every 6 weeks, pulmonary twice, physical therapy for a while." "How many did you take him to?" "Most." "I'm asking for a number. I don't know, 10, 12? Denise tightened her hands on the wheel. "I took him to none." Marcus said nothing. "I sent money," she continued. "I called. I researched that cardiologist downtown. He hated that guy." "I know, Mom told me." "He said the guy's eyebrows were too confident." Helen smiled at the windshield. Denise glanced into the mirror. "I let you do all of it." "Somebody had to." "You liked being the one Dad called." Marcus looked at her reflection. "Sometimes. And you resented it. Usually." The honesty settled among them. Helen turned George's watch over. His initials were engraved on the back, crooked because the committee had used someone's cousin. "I made it worse," she said. Neither child responded. "After your father died, every time something broke, I called Marcus before I called a repairman. He knew the building. He didn't overcharge." "I didn't charge," Marcus said. "I know. Then I made jokes about it being yours someday. It kept you attached to the place. Maybe it kept you attached to me." Denise looked at her briefly, then back at the road. Marcus's voice came from behind Helen. "You didn't make me sell anything. No, you're not responsible for that. No." He sounded almost irritated by her refusal to absorb part of the blame. Helen continued, "But I cannot spend years using the building as a promise and then pretend I don't understand why you counted on it." Marcus leaned forward, forearms on his knees. "Dad said taking care of property was how you earned property. Your father said many things after 2 beers. He meant it. He also said a person who expects a reward for every decent act is a dog waiting for a biscuit. I remember, you were furious. I was 17. You had washed the car without being asked and stood beside it until he noticed." Denise laughed. Marcus did not, though his mouth moved. "I thought moving upstairs would fix everything," he said after a while. "No rent. I could rebuild the business. I'd be there if Mom needed help. Tara could stop looking at the bank account like it was a diagnosis." "And Mom?" Denise asked. Marcus looked toward the passing buildings. "She'd be safe with Lois." Helen heard the conviction that had survived even now. He still believed safety could justify removal if presented kindly enough. "I was safe here," she said. "You fell in the kitchen. I tripped over a grocery bag. You needed surgery. I needed surgery because my knee was 72 years old. You shouldn't be alone. Neither should you, apparently. Yet, Tara had to leave to get your attention." Marcus sat back. The rest of the drive passed without conversation. Rosa and Celeste were carrying boxes into the building when they arrived. A rented cargo van blocked the alley. Celeste stood on the rear landing holding a lamp shaped like a white globe. "I thought the lease starts after repairs," Helen called. "This is only lamps," Celeste said. "There are 9 boxes labeled lamps. Zones require planning." Rosa emerged behind her with a carton of dishes. She stopped when she saw Marcus. "We can wait," she said. "No," Helen replied. "You're already blocking the alley." Marcus opened the trunk. He looked at the boxes moving up the rear stairs, then at the cedar chest wedged beside Denise's suitcase. For one moment, Helen expected him to leave it there and walk away. Instead, he lifted the chest. "Where do you want it?" he asked. "Downstairs," Helen said. Rosa stepped aside to let him pass. Marcus carried his father's chest into the smaller apartment, while the new tenants carried their possessions into the home he had prepared for himself. Denise followed with the bag of pins and letters. Helen came last, slow on the steps. Inside, Marcus set the chest beneath the front window. "Not there," Helen said. He closed his eyes. "Where?" "Beside the maple cabinet. It'll block the outlet." Helen looked. He was right. Then under the window. Marcus moved it back without comment. Through the ceiling came the soft thud of Rosa setting down a box. Tara appeared in the open doorway. She wore jeans and a gray sweater, not hospital scrubs. Her eyes passed from Helen to Denise, then settled on Marcus beside George's cedar chest. "I went to the apartment," she said. Marcus straightened. "Why?" "To see whether you found us somewhere to live." He glanced at the ceiling. Tara heard the footsteps above them. Her face changed as she understood. "You rented it," she said to Helen. "I did." Tara nodded once. Then she looked at Marcus. "Good." He stared at her. "I'm glad she rented it," Tara said, "because as long as it was empty, you were still waiting for her to change her mind." Marcus looked from Tara to the ceiling. "You're glad?" "Yes." "You know we have to be out of our place in 3 weeks." "I know." "And you're glad." "I'm glad the decision is no longer waiting for us to wear her down." "I wasn't waiting." Tara glanced around the apartment. "Then, why haven't you looked at a single rental?" "I have. You showed me one listing in Cicero with a furnace in the kitchen. It was cheap. It was condemned." The listing didn't say condemned. The orange notice on the front door did. Denise moved the bag of letters onto the cedar chest. "Should we go upstairs?" "No," Helen said. "It's leased." "We could go outside. It's 90 degrees. Marcus rubbed both hands through his hair. "Could everybody stop acting like I'm dangerous?" No one answered quickly enough. "I sold furniture," he said. "I did not set the building on fire. You made decisions for another adult because you thought your need was larger than her right to say no," Tara replied. "That is dangerous. You wanted the apartment too." "I did. You let me handle the sale. I believed you when you said Helen agreed. You wanted to believe me." "Yes." Tara's voice did not rise. "I told her that." Marcus looked at Helen, perhaps checking whether she had been given his wife's confession before he had been given his mother's. Helen sat in George's chair. Her knee had begun to swell from the drive and the walking. She placed the cane across her lap, resisting the urge to arrange everyone else according to comfort. Tara came farther inside and closed the door behind her. "I found an apartment," she said. Marcus's anger disappeared so completely that Helen saw the fear beneath it. "Where?" "Portage Park. 1 bedroom, small kitchen. The bedroom closet smells like somebody stored curry in it." "When did you find it?" "Yesterday." "You applied without me?" "I filled out the application." "I didn't submit it." He stared at her. "The landlord wants income verification," Tara continued. "Mine is enough if we cut everything else. No storage unit, no business truck payment, no more ads for a company that hasn't paid you a salary in 8 months. My truck is how I work. Your truck is how you wait for the business to become what it was 2 years ago. I have a cabinet job next month. You have an estimate next month." They said yes. They said they'd discuss it. Marcus turned to Helen as if she had arranged this too. "You see what this is doing?" "Yes. You're enjoying it." "No." He laughed once. "You have your tenants. You got your chair back. Denise flew in to take your side. Tara has conditions. Everything worked out beautifully." Helen felt anger move through her, then stop somewhere behind her breastbone. "Do you think I wanted to learn that my daughter-in-law helped plan a life in my apartment?" she asked. "Do you think I wanted my daughter to fly here because her father's letters were sold from a booth? Do you think sleeping on an air mattress makes me feel victorious?" "You're not on the mattress anymore," Marcus said. The room went quiet. Marcus's face changed the instant the sentence left him. Helen looked at George's chair beneath her. It had cost $160 and a piece of whatever remained between her and her son. "No," she said. "I'm sitting in the chair I bought back from your sale. Mom, stop using the fact that I solve problems as evidence you did not create them." Tara lowered her eyes. Above them, something rolled across the floor and struck the wall. Celeste called, "It's fine," though no one had asked. Denise sat on the cedar chest. Marcus looked toward the door. "I'll take the Portage Park place." Tara's expression did not soften. "We'll look at it together. You already did everything." I filled out a form. That's everything now? No. Selling your mother's home out from under her would have been everything. I didn't sell the home. You sold what made it hers and expected the rest to follow. Helen watched the words land. Tara had understood the act more clearly than Marcus had, perhaps more clearly than Helen. Marcus picked up the blue repayment folder from the card table. I'll sign this, he said. It starts next month, Helen replied. I know, and the amount may change after the final report. I know. Say it without that tone. He looked at her. What tone? The one that turns your own agreement into mistreatment. His mouth tightened, but he sat at the card table and signed. Tara did not leave with him. She remained downstairs while Marcus carried the cardboard box of encyclopedias from Brenda's warehouse. He had picked them up that morning without telling Helen. 12 heavy volumes, red bindings faded at the spines. Where do these go? He asked from the doorway. The cedar chest. They won't fit, on the floor beside it. You don't have a bookcase, I noticed. He set the box down too hard. I can build shelves. Helen looked at him. What? He said. Nothing. It was an offer. I know. You could say yes or no, like a regular person. No. He nodded. Fine. After he left, Tara began folding the contractor bags. She did not ask permission. Helen nearly corrected her, then saw Tara was not moving the contents, only making the black plastic lie flatter against the wall. I should go, Tara said. To your friends? Yes. Is Marcus staying there? No. He's at the storage unit. There's a couch in the office. Helen pictured her son sleeping among tile samples, power tools, and boxes of company shirts printed with Mercer Custom Remodeling. The image gave her no satisfaction. Tara. Her daughter-in-law waited. I did make promises sound closer than they were. Tara looked at her. About the building, Helen continued. I said things I should not have said. It kept Marcus helping. He would have helped anyway. I'm not sure I believe that. You could have paid him, I offered. You offered after each job. You never offered before. Helen disliked the distinction because it was accurate. Tara picked up the shower chair and carried it into the bathroom. He thought the upstairs was his eventual payment. It was never a contract. No, it was family. That's messier. Are you leaving him? Tara opened the chair's legs inside the tub. I don't know. The answer contained less drama than Helen expected. Tara checked each rubber foot, then pressed down on the seat. I'm not trying to punish him, she said. I'm trying to find out whether there's a marriage left when I stop protecting him from every consequence. Helen thought of the estate sale flyer and Marcus carrying soup into the emptied apartment. Concern and management, love and control. Families could hide one inside the other until no one remembered which had come first. Rosa and Celeste signed the lease the next afternoon. They sat at Eileen's folding table while Helen reviewed every clause. Rosa had brought her own pen. Celeste had brought a lamp catalog. The security deposit goes into a separate account, Rosa said. I know. You didn't mention where. It is written in paragraph 6. Rosa read paragraph 6 again. All right. You were less suspicious the first time you rented from me. I was 47 and desperate. You are now 55 and moving into your second apartment this week. Experience has made me suspicious. Celeste turned the catalog around. This fixture for the dining room. It resembled a cluster of soap bubbles. No, you didn't look. I saw enough. Rosa signed. Celeste signed beneath her. Helen signed last. The deposit and first month's prorated rent would cover the downstairs mattress, a plumber to install the grab bar, the loose upstairs outlet, and part of the tax bill. Nothing multiplied. Nothing arrived by miracle. The numbers merely stopped moving in the wrong direction. Helen handed them 2 sets of keys. Rosa held hers up. These open upstairs only? Yes. The basement laundry? Separate key. And downstairs? No. Rosa slipped them onto her ring. Good. The word pleased Helen. Denise stayed 4 more days. She moved into Eileen's guest room, despite claiming the wallpaper caused dizziness, and spent each morning helping Helen sort the contractor bags. They found 6 items belonging to Marcus, 3 belonging to Denise, and a shirt George had been buried in, which turned out to be an identical second shirt no one remembered buying. The dealer in Elgin found 2 more letters. The remaining ones were gone. Denise photographed every recovered page and sent copies to Marcus without commentary. On her last evening, she sat on the front step with Helen, while Celeste installed the soap bubble light upstairs, after negotiating Helen down from refusal to reluctant approval. "Are you going to give either of us the watch?" Denise asked. "Eventually?" "Which one?" "The one who stops asking first. That's Marcus. He avoids you now. He has been here twice. To bring encyclopedias and sign a repayment plan. He also fixed the upstairs toilet. After you threatened to deduct a plumber from what he owes. Motivation is rarely pure." Denise leaned back against the railing. "I should call more. You already call every Sunday. I should ask real questions. I should answer them." They sat with that. On the sidewalk, Tara approached carrying a grocery bag. She handed it to Helen without coming up the steps. "Marcus asked me to bring this." Inside were the first payment on the repayment plan, $125 in cash, and a printed list of apartments. "He wants to know if he can stay downstairs for 2 weeks, Tara said. Helen looked up. "He can't use the storage unit office after Friday. The owner found out." "And your friend? Does not want him there? The Portage Park apartment? We can't move in until the 1st. 2 weeks. The air mattress remained folded against the downstairs wall. Helen had room, technically. Marcus could sleep in the front room beneath George's photograph once she rehung it. Denise watched her. Tara said, "You can say no." Helen hated that permission was necessary. She hated more that Tara knew it was. Marcus had sold her bed before she came home. Now he needed one from her. "Tell him to come, ask me himself," Helen said. Tara nodded. He arrived 20 minutes later. Helen let him stand on the sidewalk while she sat on the front step. "I'll be gone during the day," he said. "I only need somewhere to sleep. There are inexpensive hotels. Not for 2 weeks. Ask Denise." Denise raised both hands. "My flight leaves tomorrow, and my apartment has 1 bedroom. Marcus glared at her. Helpful. Helen studied her son. He looked tired. Gray had spread through his beard. There was paint on his boots and a small tear near the cuff of his jacket. Letting him stay would feel merciful. It would also return him to the building before either of them had learned how to enter the other's life without assuming access. "No," she said. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. "You'd let strangers live above you. They signed a lease. I'm your son. That is why this is harder." His face tightened. 2 weeks, Ma. You did not ask me before you emptied my home. You do not get to make my guilt the new way in. I'm not making you guilty. You came knowing I would feel it." He looked away. Helen held the grocery bag with his first payment inside. "I love you," she said. "You cannot sleep here." Marcus nodded once, though his expression said he had heard only the second sentence. He walked back to his truck. Denise remained silent until the engine started. Then she reached over and covered Helen's hand with hers. Helen let her. Denise left before sunrise. She hugged Helen in Eileen's driveway and extracted a promise that Helen would schedule physical therapy twice a week instead of when convenient. Then she hugged her again, longer, and whispered, "Don't let him turn your no into cruelty." Helen watched the rideshare disappear at the corner. Eileen stood behind her in a robe printed with sunflowers. "You can come in for coffee. You're not dressed. I'm wearing flowers. You're wearing a warning." Back downstairs, Helen found the lawn chair folded beside the door. Denise had taped a note to it. "Return to Eileen before it becomes furniture." Helen carried it across the street. The mattress arrived that afternoon. 2 delivery men maneuvered it through the narrow hall, while Rosa shouted advice from upstairs, and Celeste lowered a lamp out of danger. It was not the bedroom set Helen had owned before. The frame was plain metal. The headboard came from a thrift shop and had one post slightly taller than the other. But that night, Helen switched off the yellow lamp, lowered herself onto a bed she had chosen, and slept without listening for a key. Marcus did not call. His first payment remained in the kitchen drawer. Helen counted it twice, wrote a receipt, and mailed the receipt to the storage unit because she did not know where else he was receiving mail. Tara sent one message. "He's staying with Ray Calder for now. We signed the apartment lease." Helen knew Ray as Marcus's former business partner, the one who had left after deciding kitchens were less exhausting when someone else managed them. If Ray had offered a couch, Marcus was either desperate or finally willing to admit he had become difficult to work with. Helen answered, "Thank you for telling me." She erased "I'm glad" because she was not. Above her, Rosa and Celeste filled the apartment with noise. Furniture crossed the floors Marcus had refinished. A drill whined. Celeste installed dimmer switches without approval, then came downstairs holding the old switches and a gift receipt. "You can make me put them back," she said. "Will you?" "No." Then that was not a sincere offer. The receipt was sincere. Rosa appeared behind her. "She has also created 7 lighting zones." "8," Celeste said. "The back hall counts." Helen let them keep the dimmers after adding an attachment to the lease, assigning responsibility for amateur electrical decisions. Rosa signed it while laughing. The first rent check cleared. Helen paid the plumber, the mattress bill, and the first installment on the boiler loan. She replaced the downstairs medicine cabinet with one whose screws did not come from beneath a refrigerator. Ordinary expenses arrived and were met by ordinary money. The balance in her account did not leap. It simply stopped frightening her each morning. Brenda delivered the final sale report with a refund check for $600 from North Shore Estate Services. "I know it doesn't fix anything," she said. They sat at Eileen's folding table, which had become Helen's dining table through continued failure to leave. "No," Helen said. "It doesn't." Brenda looked down. "We changed our intake policy. If the owner is living, we speak with the owner. That seems advanced. We deserve that." Helen turned through the final inventory. The suitcase had disappeared through the Rosemont flea market. The buffet owner declined to sell. One of the nightstands could be purchased for $140 plus delivery. The maple dresser had gone to a graduate student in Evanston, who offered to return it if Helen reimbursed the price and paid for a replacement. Every line led to another transaction, another conversation, another stranger apologizing for participating in something they had no reason to suspect. "I'm done," Helen said. Brenda looked up. "With which pieces?" "All of them. There are still 11 buyers we haven't reached. Stop reaching them." "Are you sure?" "No, but stop." Helen wrote the refund amount at the bottom of Marcus's repayment plan. After accounting for what he had received, what the company returned, the 2 pieces she bought back, the lock change, and the first payment, the number remained large enough to sting without pretending every spoon could be replaced. $5,485. She did not charge him for memories. There was no defensible rate. Brenda slipped the sale report into its folder. "The cafe opens Friday. Anita told you?" She invited our office. "I don't think we should go. That is the first excellent intake decision you have made." On Friday, Helen went alone. Anita had removed the brown paper from the windows. The cafe was called Common Ground, a name Helen considered both pleasant and suspiciously intentional. Plants hung near the front. The mismatched tables had been arranged beneath amber lights. George's oak table stood in the back, upright and extended with one leaf. The top was lighter now. The refinisher had softened years of dark varnish without making the oak look new. Near the edge, the crescent from Marcus's belt remained. A small reserved sign stood in front of one chair. Anita approached carrying 2 coffee cups. "I wasn't sure you'd come." "I wasn't either." "Sit." Helen took the chair with the clearest path for her knee. Anita poured coffee and set down a plate holding a slice of almond cake. "I didn't order cake. Opening week policy. We force food on people and learn from the consequences." The table no longer belonged in Helen's dining room. That surprised her. Under the pendant lights, with menus stacked where George once kept the newspaper, it looked as if it had been waiting for a larger life. A woman at the next table spilled coffee. Anita handed her a towel without alarm. "First mark," Anita said when she returned. "Not even close." Helen placed her palm over the old crescent. The front door opened. Marcus entered. He saw her at the table and stopped. Helen looked at Anita. "He called yesterday," Anita said. "Asked whether you'd be here. You could have warned me. He asked me not to. That should have recommended the opposite. I'm still learning intake." Anita left them with the coffee. Marcus approached slowly. His beard had been trimmed. He wore a clean work shirt without the remodeling company logo. In one hand he carried the blue folder. "Can I sit down?" he asked. The question was so new between them that Helen almost missed it. "Yes." He chose the chair opposite her. For a while, they looked at the table instead of each other. "They went too light," Marcus said. "I thought so at first. Dad would hate the hanging lights. Your father believed all bulbs should be visible. He said shades trapped brightness." He was describing dust. Marcus touched the crescent mark. "They kept this?" I asked. "I'm surprised you remembered. I remember more than you think." "I know." The words lacked their usual defense. He opened the blue folder and placed the revised repayment plan between them. Helen had emailed him the figure through Tara. He had printed it, signed it, and added a schedule of $125 a month, with larger payments whenever he received contract work. "The total is right?" he asked. "It is acceptable." "That's not what I asked." "No total is right. This one is acceptable." He nodded. "I started with Ray's estimating crew," he said. "Hourly. It's not much. It is work. He says if I can keep my opinions to myself for 3 months, he'll consider making it permanent. Can you?" "No." Helen drank her coffee to hide a smile. Marcus looked toward the cafe windows. "Tara and I moved into the Portage Park place. Does it smell like curry? Only the closet. She put baking soda in there. How is she?" "Careful." Helen understood. Marcus folded and unfolded the edge of a napkin. "I was angry you wouldn't let me stay. I know. I slept in the truck that night." Helen looked at him. "Only one night," he added. "Ray found out and gave me his couch. You could have gone to a hotel. I had $63. You received $4,106 from my sale." "I know." The sentence finally sounded like knowledge. Marcus looked down at the signed plan. "When Dad was sick, he used to ask me what I'd do with the upstairs after you were both gone." Helen's hand tightened around the coffee cup. "What did you say?" "Open the kitchen into the dining room, rent downstairs, maybe build a deck." "That sounds like your father. He told me not to sell the building. He told me the same. I thought that meant it was decided. He had no right to decide when I would be gone." Marcus nodded. "I know. Did you tell Tara that conversation?" "Yes." "Did you tell Denise?" "No." "Did you tell me?" "No." "Why?" "Because saying it to you would have sounded like I was waiting. You were waiting. I didn't think I was." A server approached, saw their faces, and retreated. Marcus pressed his thumb into the old belt mark. "I hated every appointment with Dad," he said. "I hated the parking garage. I hated lifting the wheelchair out of the trunk. Then, after he died, I missed having somewhere I was required to be." Helen's throat tightened. "The building felt like proof it counted," he continued. "All the driving, the repairs, the business jobs I turned down. If it became mine, then I hadn't just lost time. You were caring for your father. That doesn't pay debt." "No." "And you kept saying it would be mine." "Yes." Marcus looked up, surprised by the admission. Helen continued. "I knew it made you come faster when the boiler broke. I knew you felt responsible. I let that continue because I was lonely and because hiring people made me feel old." He sat very still. "I'm sorry for that," she said. "I am not sorry I kept my home." "I know." "Do you?" "Yes." The word trembled. Marcus looked around the cafe, then back at the table. "You chose Rosa and Celeste because they were better to you. I chose them because they were tenants. You like them. I do. They feel like family, sometimes." He absorbed that with visible pain. Helen placed her hand flat between them. "Chosen family is not replacement family," she said. "But being family does not give you unlimited access." Marcus's eyes reddened. He looked down quickly. "I treated you like you were already gone," he said. There it was. No safer, no transition, no explanation arranged around the truth. Helen did not rescue him from it. "Yes," she said. He wiped one eye with the heel of his hand and gave a short, embarrassed laugh. "Dad would hate me crying in a cafe. Your father cried during a tire commercial. That dog came home. It was selling all-season radials." Marcus laughed again, and this time Helen joined him. The sound did not forgive anything. It only made the space between them less rigid. He pushed the signed repayment plan across the table. "I'll bring the next payment Sunday," he said. "You can mail it." "I know." He waited. Helen understood the question beneath the sentence. "You may come by," she said. "Call first." Marcus nodded. When they stood to leave, he did not reach for her arm. He waited until she had her cane firmly planted. At the door, Helen glanced back. 2 strangers had taken their seats at the oak table. One opened a laptop. The other pushed the almond cake toward the center to share. Marcus followed her gaze. "Do you want it back?" he asked. Helen watched the strangers lean over the same page. "No," she said. This time, she meant it. Outside the cafe, Marcus opened the passenger door of his truck. Helen looked at the high step. "I can call a cab. You can, or I can drive you." He did not take her elbow. He stood close enough to help if she asked, and far enough to let the decision remain hers. "Move the seat back," she said. At the 2 flat, a delivery van blocked the alley. Celeste had purchased a dining room light after all, Not the soap bubbles, but a long brass fixture with 6 glass shades. Rosa stood beside the van reading the box with the suspicion of someone expecting hidden electrical requirements. Marcus parked at the curb. "You want help getting inside?" he asked. "No?" "All right." Helen opened the truck door, then paused. "You can carry the yellow lamp upstairs." "To Rosa?" "Celeste says it completes a zone." He smiled. "Can I come in?" "Yes." The question remained slightly embarrassing for both of them. That was probably useful. The apartment changed by inches. Helen found a blue sofa at a church resale shop and sat on it for 15 minutes before paying. It was firmer than George's chair and smelled faintly of cinnamon until Celeste cleaned it with a machine she owned for reasons no one understood. A round dining table came from a divorced accountant in Lincoln Square who said his new apartment required less evidence of entertaining. It had one leaf that sat perfectly flat. Helen bought 4 chairs from a separate shop because matching sets now seemed unimaginative. Eileen reclaimed her folding table with visible reluctance. "I got used to seeing it here," she said. "You visited it more often than you visited me. It's a good table. It wobbles. That's character. Then it has more character than George." Eileen carried it across the street and returned 10 minutes later with the rooster dish towel. "It doesn't go with my kitchen. It doesn't go with anyone's kitchen." Helen hung it over the oven handle. The physical therapist approved of the downstairs apartment. There were no interior stairs, enough room for Helen's exercises, and a grab bar beside the tub. Helen did not mention that the therapist was 28 and used the phrase age in place as if she had invented both words. By September, Helen could walk to common ground without the cane. She brought it folded inside her shopping cart because confidence was not the same as cartilage. Anita kept the oak table near the back. It collected new marks quickly. Someone scratched a phone number beneath one edge. A dark coffee ring appeared near George's old hot pan stain. The crescent from Marcus's belt remained, less important each time Helen saw it. She never asked which nightstand had been returned or whether the mustard suitcase appeared at another flea market. Brenda mailed one last letter saying the company had closed the file. Helen placed it in the cedar chest with the final sale report, not to preserve the grievance, but because she kept records. She kept the flyer, too. Owner transitioning to supervised care. Helen folded it in half, so the words faced inward. Marcus's payments arrived on the first Sunday of every month. Sometimes he mailed them. Sometimes he called and asked to bring them. Once he was $12 short because Ray's crew had gone 2 days without work. He did not hide the shortage inside an excuse. He wrote it on the receipt and added it the following month. Ray hired him permanently as an estimator in October. Marcus sold the business truck, paid off the loan, and kept a smaller set of tools in the Portage Park apartment's coat closet until Tara made him rent a locker in the basement. Their marriage did not repair itself in a speech. Tara continued sleeping badly. Marcus continued treating every silence like a problem he could fix with hardware. They saw a counselor on Thursday evenings and complained separately about the cost. But Tara began coming with him on Sundays. The first time, she remained near the door. The second time, she brought coffee. By the fourth, she criticized the downstairs kitchen cabinets. "I told you," Rosa called through the open stairwell, "structurally ugly." Helen refused to replace them while they remained functional. Denise called every Sunday evening. She stopped asking, "How are you?" and began asking questions Helen could not escape with fine. Did physical therapy hurt less? Had Marcus paid? Was Rosa's upstairs bathtub leaking, or was that Eileen's invention? Helen answered honestly, which took longer. The recovered letters went to Denise in a proper archival box after she made digital copies for Marcus and Helen. George's transit pins stayed in the cedar chest. Helen had his watch cleaned and fitted with a new leather band, then wore it herself, despite its running 7 minutes slow. When Marcus noticed, he looked startled. "Dad never fixed that," he said. "I know. You're going to be late. I'm retired." He did not ask who would receive it later. The first snow arrived on a Sunday in November, wet and indecisive. Denise came from Arizona wearing a white coat entirely unsuitable for Chicago. She stepped out of the rideshare, slid on the sidewalk, and accused the city of personal hostility. Helen had invited everyone for dinner in the downstairs apartment. Not a holiday, she insisted, merely dinner. But she roasted a chicken, made George's potatoes, and unfolded the new table's leaf. Rosa and Celeste came downstairs carrying wine and a floor lamp shaped like a bronze bird. No, Helen said from the kitchen. It's a gift, Celeste replied. No, you haven't seen it lit. I have seen it unlit. Rosa placed the wine on the counter. We'll keep it upstairs. Where? Helen asked. The lamp sanctuary? Zone 9. Eileen declined the invitation because her sister was visiting, then appeared with a pie and stayed long enough to drink one glass of wine. Tara arrived with rolls. Marcus arrived last, carrying the blue payment folder and a small plastic container. Helen looked at the container. Soup? The same kind I left upstairs. You made it? Tara supervised. He tried to use a drill attachment in the blender, Tara said. It works. It aerosolized celery. Marcus placed the payment envelope inside the blue folder and set it on the maple cabinet. After dinner, Helen said, I wasn't asking you to look now, I know. He removed his coat and stopped beside George's chair. The front left leg had begun to loosen, rocking slightly whenever Helen stood. Marcus pressed one finger against the arm. That leg needs tightening. I have noticed. I can fix it. Helen waited. Marcus looked at her. May I? The room continued around them. Denise searched for a corkscrew. Rosa told Celeste not to plug in the bronze bird. Tara moved the rolls out of Helen's oven before they hardened into defensive weapons. Helen stepped aside. Yes, she said. The tools are in the bottom drawer. Marcus opened the maple cabinet, then paused. This drawer? The bottom one. I'm asking? I see that. He found the screwdriver and knelt beside the chair. Instead of turning it over, he braced it carefully and worked from the side. George used to repair furniture by flipping it onto the nearest rug without warning. Marcus had inherited his hands, but had finally begun using them differently. At dinner, 6 adults crowded around a table meant for 6 and behaved as if surprised by the arrangement. Denise complained that Marcus had taken the chair with the best view of the window. You live in Arizona, he said. You see enough sky. That is not how views work. Rosa asked whether siblings ever aged out of arguing over seats. No, Helen and Tara answered together. The chicken was slightly dry. George's potatoes needed more salt. Celeste's bronze bird watched from the hallway after losing the battle over electricity. Halfway through the meal, Denise looked around the apartment. This is good, she said. The potatoes are dry, Marcus replied. The potatoes are never dry, Helen said. I mean this. Denise gestured with her fork. The apartment. Helen looked at the low windows where snow moved through the streetlight. The yellow lamp was gone, but its former place held the maple cabinet. George's chair stood firm near the blue sofa. His cedar chest sat beneath the window with a plant on top, because memory did not prevent practical surfaces. Above them, the apartment Marcus once expected to occupy held Rosa's books, Celeste's lamps, and a lease renewed through the next summer. It is good, Helen agreed. After dinner, Marcus washed dishes. Tara dried. Denise tried to reorganize the cabinets and was removed from the kitchen. Rosa and Celeste carried the bronze bird upstairs. Eileen returned for her pie plate even though the pie had not been finished. When the apartment quieted, Helen opened the blue folder. Marcus had included the full payment and the $12 he had once made up, accidentally paying twice. You overpaid, she said. He leaned over the table. By how much? $12. Put it toward next month. I keep separate records. Of course you do. She handed him the bills. He took them without argument. At the door, Tara went ahead to warm their car. Marcus put on his jacket and stood with one hand on the knob. Ray wants me on a job near here next Sunday, he said. Helen waited. I could stop by after, he added. If you're home, call first. I will. He looked toward George's chair. The legs should hold, but don't drag it by the arms. I know how to move a chair. He winced. Right? Helen touched his sleeve before he could leave. Marcus looked at her hand. I'll make coffee, she said, next Sunday. His face softened, carefully, as if he did not trust quick repairs anymore. All right, he stepped outside. This time, he did not take a key with him. Helen locked the door, switched off the kitchen light, and sat in George's chair. It no longer rocked. Snow gathered along the bottom of the front windows while footsteps moved overhead and Marcus's truck pulled away from the curb. Around her stood furniture she had chosen, some old, some used, none waiting to tell her what came next. Helen reached for the lamp and turned it off.